Welcome back to another edition of the Rodcast. Got a great show planned for you. Got some hoops to discuss. We got NFL news, notes, and nuggets because training camp is underway. Lots of negotiations to discuss around the league for contract extensions for some of the best players. And that always, at least for the Cowboys, that's going to come home to roost, if you will. We'll talk about that a little bit. We'll also get into some Texas football discussion, go behind the burnt orange curtain. There's some Heisman odds that are out, the latest Heisman odds that are out. We'll see where Quinn Ewers is listed on those. We'll also get into Rod's rant of the day. We'll talk about the latest trend in the NFL. There seems to be a renaissance at a certain position in the NFL, and we'll get into that in Rod's rant of the day. We'll discuss there's a new stat that is out that is being considered. We know about game-winning drives and fourth quarter comebacks, but taking that even further. And we'll discuss that coming up in the next hour of the show from an NFL perspective. Fourth quarter comebacks, game-winning drives. That's usually how we try to classify the clutch gene. How about we take it even further than that? And no surprise, Patrick Mahomes at the top of this list. So we'll get into that too coming up in the second hour of the show. Talk some NFL. We got all your usual favorites on the show. We got what the facts, what the stats. We got off the record. We got who said that, the topic for the big fat poll of the day, of course, and also your musically themed day of the week. So before we get to any of that, let's introduce you to the rest of the crew. He's one of the hardest working members of the ARN family. He's got a hustler spirit, period. I'm not sure what he's paid, but I'm pretty damn sure that he's underpaid. Ain't no 401k for this hustler, and he's a hustle man of many talents. It's our friend, co-host, and neighbor. It's Patrick Davis, y'all. What's going on, Patrick? How you doing, brother?
Doing good on a Tuesday morning. I got a little bit of a late start, and it's amazing how much more traffic there is like 10 minutes later than I normally drive.
Like in the mornings?
In the mornings, because normally I get here by 5. I'm here like 4:45, 5 in the morning. And I was driving at about 5 this morning. And there, like I was a light, and then there was like 6 cars, and you were like, 6 cars? What is going on?
What the hell's going on?
It was, so not traffic, but there was just more cars on the
more
road
cars
than I'm used to having.
Yeah, there you go.
And it's always that fun part whenever you're driving in the morning and there's not much traffic, that everyone agrees we're all going to go one speed, and everyone's kind of going, and everyone's like 5 to 10 over. And this is the equation I made it. This is like cheating in sports. This is everyone was driving and everyone was a little over the speed limit. So the speed limit's 60. Yeah. Everyone's going like 65, 70. Everyone's kind of in that range going around the
social
same
contract.
And then somebody comes by going 80. And every car is like, whoa, 80. What are you doing trying to weave through traffic? And you're like, that's cheating in sports, is everyone's kind of cheating. And then one guy, you're like, whoa. You are cheating way too much. Time to tone it down.
And then what happened? Did you guys get over to the right and let the 80 person get
normally
through?
what's happening, it's a 2-lane road that we're
That's
coming
what I'm saying.
down.
So you're supposed to get over.
But normally normally what'll happen is 2 cars are going the same speed around that. There's no real
what transpired
getting over.
Once somebody broke the social contract.
Because the reality is we're all going the right speed, and then somebody decides to come screaming up behind you and tailgate you at 5 o'clock in the morning. You're like, if you're gonna tailgate me at 5 o'clock in the morning, you're gonna have to wait the 35 seconds it takes me to get over. I'm not going to speed up or slow down to accommodate you.
I agree. But that's one of the social contracts that I think should be respected. If somebody is in a rush, they want to go. There are 2 lanes.
I agree on
there
highways.
Is the left lane is for passing.
I agree
get over and let the rabbit through. But if I love rabbits, go ahead, let the rabbit through. And normally clear the way for everybody else.
And normally on a 3-lane road, that's a lot easier than a 2-lane road.
It is. No, I agree. But if there's 2 lanes, slower traffic, you got to keep to the right. You got to. That's one of the social contracts that when people break it, it actually bothers me. It's like, no, get over.
Oh no, I normally will get over.
Because I'm with you. I don't want to deal with the a-hole that's trying to obviously tailgate me and force me off the road, that kind of thing. That's not cool either. But if you see somebody that's rolling through pretty fast, hey, just slide on over. It's okay. Don't let your pride be hurt because somebody wants to go faster than you. It's okay.
I normally roll over. And also normally on this road, it's not really a problem. But it'll be
exactly.
It's when there's like 3 or 4 cars and then somebody decides, no, I need to get through now. You're like, could you wait 20 seconds till one of us passes each other and then we can clear a lane for you? No, or like one of us has to pass each other first, and we don't want to slam on our brakes or gas it so that we can make your life a little bit easier at 4:50 in the morning.
No, because that person's probably late. They probably should have,
Oh, come on.
put
If you're
enough
late,
time.
if you're late then and having to speed through traffic at 4:50 in the morning, come on, man.
I know, but I don't know what's going on in their life. I have no idea. I have no idea what's going on in their life at that time. Why they are speed? Who knows? You know what I mean? It may be some emergency for them. I have no idea. That's so usually your boy, I just slide on. That's one of, and we can talk. That's one of the social contracts that I hate when people don't that get over.
No. I believe me, I can't stand over. I can't stand the person. The one that kills me is when traffic in the left lane is going one speed and somebody pulls over to pass at about 15 miles per hour slower than the left lane traffic.
And then stays at that speed.
Yeah, and then they never pass the guy because they're only going 2 miles per hour faster than the guy they're trying to pass. You're like, whoa, you guys are trying to get through. So
there are more social contracts broken on roadways probably than any other place in our society.
Yes,
it's people. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's just like people. People didn't. I think ultimately, I think people are becoming worse drivers. I think overall as a society, I do. And I think COVID killed a lot of driving skills. You just had like a whole kind of lost generation of drivers during the COVID time. That hurt it too. And I don't know. I've been driving for a while. I feel like people are getting worse. I feel like now I don't think like people are getting better at driving overall as a society.
No, I
don't know how it's taught these days, but it is my theory. It's one of my theories. Oh, yeah. One of my theories is our generation of drivers, we actually had mental reps of driving because we didn't have phones in our cars the whole time.
Yes.
We literally was. I remember sitting in the car with mom and dad and literally looking out and watching dad and mom drive. Like, okay, signal. Okay, I got you. All right. Oh, that's why they cut. They got mad. That's why they cussed that person out because they got cut off in traffic. That is taboo. You don't do that. Oh, you're supposed to get over and like you literally were paying attention. You know what I mean? While you're jamming, like you had nothing to do. And then now kids do not take mental reps in driving. Yeah. They literally do not take. They don't start thinking about driving until they start driving. Like we were thinking about driving, we were like 6, 7 years old. It was like kids were watching our parents drive. Like, oh, look at this, interesting. Kids don't do that these days. Their eyes are down. That's my number one theory. Could be a crazy theory that makes no sense.
I think that's
but
definitely
we
part
had great mental reps of driving as kids.
Oh yeah, I think that's definitely. I think that's definitely part of it. I think there's multifactorial.
Yes, it's
of people not
distracted driving probably is a big, probably bigger than anything. Like literally, people on their phones. Or how many times do you see somebody doing something stupid on the roadway, and then you pull up beside you? Like, I gotta see this a-hole. I gotta see why they're being such a traffic hazard. What's going on here? And then you see them on their phone. You go, you really? What? Come on, really? You can't. You gotta have it in your hand. Come on, hands free. No, at least have it hands free.
That's
what are you doing?
It's an Ellen joke from back in the day. Of the joke was, he's like, you can't have your phone, and then now they got hands free. But call me crazy, but I think if both your hands need to be involved in something, your brain should too.
No, I agree. It's still the hands-free thing ain't great because you just stare, but at least it's safer than the phone, having the hand.
I agree.
That phone in the hand.
I agree.
Yeah.
It was a funny line.
No, it's a great line. It's great. The distracted driving. Listen, I always thought I don't know why they let us eat and drive. Like I think that should be against the law. So I don't know how is that not distracted drive? People were like eating, getting fries and like dipping it in sauce and nuggets and while they drove. Like, dude, you get it. I see women doing makeup when they're driving, get it warm. Like that is distracted driving. Like we are the most distracted driving society. That's probably the number one reason why we're bad driving.
There's too many distractions now. Yes,
we're overconfident. We're like, I can drive so damn well. Watch me drive and also do some prep for my show. And it's like, what? What are you doing? What are you doing? I got to answer some emails in traffic, so I'll be okay. Like, what's going on here? So, okay, anyway.
Yes, I agree. But yes. So, yeah, but if you're driving at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning.
Respect the social contract.
Respect the social contract and just relax a little bit. I get no one wants to be up that early. Nobody does.
That is true.
Nobody wants to be up that early. So I get that.
Why everybody's in a bad mood at that time.
Yeah.
Like, you're not in a great mood.
No one chose to be up at that time. There's a reason you're up.
You have been forced into this.
You chose, and then you're like, I don't want to get my car and drive somewhere. You're forced to be driving at that hour in the morning, and so
which is why y'all have camaraderie. It's like no, we should have camaraderie, guys, because we're all in this. We don't want to be here. None of us want to be here. We all are forced to be here. Yeah, nobody wants to be here, so let's all get along. There you go. No, good stuff. Good story.
Let me tell you who does want to be here in the morning. My co-host, he's a proud alumni of DBU. He's got more papers in Dunder Mifflin and watches more film than Siskel and Ebert. He is the new Rod, father of Austin Sports Radio, Mr. Rod Babers.
Yeah. No, I'm always intrigued by our just the different like customs that we have created based on our highway road
Yes.
culture as a society. That's all these kind of unwritten rules and like social contracts, stuff like that. Yeah, I always say that people become you don't get angry in your car because it makes all of us. It kind of makes you an accidental racist.
Yeah.
Everybody kind of jumps into a mode where they're trying to stereotype people in their cars because of their cars in the way they drive.
Yep.
And if you want to pull up, I want to see this person. Let me see what it is, because you're trying to confirm your your accidental racism. All right, so that's
Yeah.
why you want to avoid anger in your car. For some reason, I don't know why. It's all of us, by the way. It's not just it's everybody.
Have you ever pulled up on somebody and seen them and not gone, knew it? Every time. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter what it is there.
That's
you
true.
automatically see the type of person driving. You're like, I knew it. You never once pulled over and went, oh, okay.
Surprise. Oops. Didn't see that coming.
No,
you're right.
It may not be what you thought it was going to be, but you're still like, oh, okay. I see who you are.
It is so true. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think I've ever pulled up and been like, whoa, didn't expect that. Wow. No, I've always like, exactly. Come on, typical Tesla driver. You know what I mean? Like whatever it is. Like
of course you drive this car.
Yeah, it is. We stereotype. So try to avoid the anger in your car, because that'll make you an accidental racist, and nobody wants to be a racist, but especially an accidental one. All right, so let's get. We got a lot coming up on the show here in this. You know what? I got a take, and it was actually a take that we brought up yesterday, that we'll get into, because I want to talk a little bit of the exhibition game. You probably watched this, Patrick, because I know you're just a hoops head. The exhibition Team USA had with Germany last night, pulling off another close one, 92-88. We'll get into that too coming up, but we'll start off, of course, talking a lot of NFL. A lot of contract negotiations and talks about contract extensions. Jordan Love's in that conversation. Brandon Ayuk in that conversation. Even Jamar Chase was mentioned by the Cincinnati owner about his contract extension and situation. And if you're a Cowboys fan, well, you got to keep up with all this stuff, because it's directly going to tie back to the Cowboys until they get the contracts done, the extensions done with Dak Prescott and with CeeDee Lamb. We told you yesterday, CeeDee Lamb seems to be the priority right now, because there is a fear that he may hold out or hold in, which we'll talk about a little bit more too. But first, let's get updated. Let's get educated. Let's get informed with all the top stories of the day with my man Patrick Davis and the Horn Headlines.
All right, your Horn Headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. Team USA outlasted Germany yesterday in their final exhibition game before the Paris Olympics, 92-88. The win pushed USA's record in their exhibition games to 5-0. LeBron James once again took over in the final minutes to secure the win for USA as he finished with a team-leading 20 points. Joel Embiid had his best performance so far, finishing with 15 points and 8 rebounds. Team USA now waits for their first game of the Olympic play against Serbia on Sunday morning. In the MLB, the Astros dropped the opening game of their series to the A's 4-0. While the Astros were able to get 8 hits in the game, and they couldn't get things done with runners in scoring position and get shut out for only the 4th time this season. Spencer Arrighetti made it through 6 innings, but allowed 4 runs in his first 4 and picks up his 8th loss. Jake Bloss will get his 3rd career start tonight as Houston looks to even the series. And the Rangers picked up an extra innings win yesterday with a Wyatt Langford walk-off single in the 10th inning with the bases loaded. Michael Lorenzen pitched a 5 innings, allowing 2 runs and striking out 8, but left the game while it was still tied 2-2. Kirby Yates allowed a 9th inning solo home run to Paul DeJong, but Jonah Heim was able to get a run home with 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th to extend the game. John Gray gets the call to start tomorrow in Game 2 of their series with the White Sox. And that's your Horn Headlines.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the Horn Headlines. Appreciate those as always. All right, a couple of stories that we want to get to here, NFL-related topics that, as I think this will tie back to the Cowboys in a lot of different ways. Let's start with Jordan Love, because there is a belief that Jordan Love's deal is going to get done sooner rather than later. Brian Gutekunst, the GM of the Packers, he basically admitted yesterday, he says, quote, "I feel we're close to getting a deal done." And essentially, it seems like they have the dollar figures worked out. This is more about guaranteed and how the contract is structured. you feel like you're close, then it seems like you got the dollar figure done. You just want to break down the guaranteed money in that deal, the structure of it, in terms of how many years and what the. I mean, like I said, I think mostly the guaranteed money is probably what they're haggling over right now. If you're a player, that should be your number one concern.
Yeah, there also could be issues with the no trade clause.
Stuff like good point.
Yeah, or if he wants to add in the Dak Prescott clause now, the no franchise tag clause, something like that. Some of those things. But yeah, it's normally incentive based things and guaranteed money.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. That's a good point about the no trade clause and the no franchise tag clause. You just want more leverage, period.
Yeah.
That'll give you more leverage going forward. This is the time to work those things out. No, I agree with you. I saw this, though, and I was because, first of all, he was great in the sort of second half of the year in the season last year. Obviously, Cowboys fans, you know that really well. He was second in passing touchdowns, had 32 of those, 4,159 passing yards. So he was top 10, seventh. What I like about him is the way he handles pressure. We saw the way he handled pressure versus the Dallas Cowboys, right? Number one pressure unit in the NFL, and yet they didn't get much pressure on him when they did. He was able to get off, the throw, off platform throws, great at sack avoidance, handles chaos really well. And fifth in, if you look at his pressure to sack rate, he was fifth in the NFL in pressure to sack rate. That's usually something that translates to sack avoidance. And he was third overall in QBR versus pressure. That's what they like about him. But ultimately, the Packers, this is them once again, doubling down on their overall philosophy that they've had now for the last 2 decades, is that, they pick their quarterbacks a little bit early. This is like their system, and I think it's a brilliant system. Nobody in the NFL really does it. The Atlanta Falcons are trying something along those lines right now with the Michael Penix draft pick and then paying Kirk Cousins, but it's still nothing close to what the Packers are doing and what the Packers have done, and it is remarkable. I'm not saying Jordan Love is going to be Aaron Rodgers or be Brett Favre, but to have the type of quarterback stability and longevity that they've had, and they believe in, sitting their quarterbacks if possible so that they can mature and develop over the years. I think it's becoming pricier than they would have liked. I think during Aaron Rodgers' time, this was more of a cost-effective measure, and I still think it's somewhat cost-effective, but not as much as it used to be, because now it's just the latest quarterback that's up for, if he's a franchise quarterback and he's up for a new deal, as we saw with a Trevor Lawrence, and I think you're going to see with Jordan Love, they're going to be paid toward the top of that quarterback market. That's just what precedent has shown us with the quarterback market. So I think it used to be cost effective. Now it's somewhat cost effective, but now he's going to get paid like a top 2-3 quarterback, period. I honestly, he might be right up there with Trevor Lawrence. They might decide he's going to match the Trevor Lawrence deal, which I think is what they're going to get.
Yeah, he basically he has 1 season under his belt of playing as a starting quarterback, and he's getting paid at, not far off of what a 10-year starting quarterback gets paid.
Come on.
And that's
exactly.
That's where the stuff where he talked about, when we talk about structures of contracts and things, it would make me believe that the owners would want this more than the players, but that's one of the things the NBA has. Is the NBA basically has built in, you can make that your max is out at you're maxed out of by service. So if you are a 3-year player and you're really good but you played your rookie contract, so you played 4 or 5 seasons, you can only make X amount. You can't hold us hostage for $100 million, and you're only 5 years. You've only really been a star for 2 seasons. You can't hold us hostage for all that. So I think there's some level to that, but right now in the NFL, if you're Jordan Love, you got to take full advantage of it. There's no real reason for you to say, I want to give you any discount, or anything, because you also know Green Bay is going to be the type of team, like they're going to do what they're going to do. Really arbitrary of what you do.
In 6 years, they are 5, they're going to draft your replacement. Like, that's just what they do.
Yeah. It's going to
be. You got to put yourself in a position to know that.
When they find their guy, they're taking their guy.
Yep. It could be 6 years. It could be, I don't know what. I got to go look at the average in between, like Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers.
But they take Aaron Rodgers because he slips. He falls to them. And so they go, okay, he fell in the draft, so we'll take Aaron Rodgers. And Jordan Love fell a little bit. And they said, okay, we'll take Jordan Love because he fell a little bit. So we think we're getting a great value because this guy that we thought was a top 5 to 10 pick fell out of that.
Yeah. But I do think there's a time where they start looking for it. And
I
if you're young,
agree.
they just signing this contract, they won't start looking for it. But I do think you're right. Like toward the end of his contract, they start perking up. Their ears start perking up.
Yeah,
All
my
right,
guess
you know
would
what?
be
Like
right around when the guy's wife starts planning the 30th birthday. They're like, all right, start scouting quarterbacks.
And they'll probably
again.
be invited. They'll probably be invited too, Patrick. They'll be there talking about it. Like, you know what?
Hey,
we got to look at the
when that invite comes, that little evite, the email pops up. They all look at each other and be like, start scouting quarterbacks.
To start keeping your guy. No, but like exactly, you know that. You already know that going in. And I think, like you said, that's probably why you probably got to put in that no trade clause or put in that no franchise tag, because you know they're going to be trying to gain leverage in some way, form, or fashion, and you can't take that personally. Like, it works. By the way, this is the most successful quarterback system now in the NFL.
Yeah,
like it is, and really, it's I don't even know if it's a system as much as it is they just stockpile quarterbacks. Like I said, they just keep acquiring them because they know at one point they're gonna hit on one of these. Now, drafting them in the first round, that is unique. But they've drafted 11 quarterbacks since 1999. Brett Favre was a trade. They brought him in. So they've always believed in just acquiring QBs and bringing in QBs. That goes back to Ron Wolf, their Hall of Fame GM, who said, if they would let me, I'd draft a quarterback every year. He said, they let me, I draft one every damn year. He said, they won't let me. So they forced me to draft one every other year. But he said, I draft one every year if they let me. And I think and he kind of goes to the Cowboys. So you're talking about the example that the Green Bay Packers has. If they have a system and a strategy, and hope is not the strategy, and this really healthy organizational habit of bringing in quarterbacks, acquiring quarterbacks, and investing in quarterbacks, and it's brought stability to their quarterback situation. The Cowboys have had more stability than they probably should have, than they deserve, but they've been the luckiest team in the NFL in the last 2 decades when it comes to quarterbacks, right? Who has an undrafted free agent become a franchise quarterback? That's rare, right? That's a Kurt Warner, Warren Moon situation. Like that is really rare in football. You just don't see it in the NFL. Dak Prescott, 4th round pick, becoming a franchise quarterback. They didn't think that'd be the case. He was a third QB on the depth chart. They thought, oh man, he'll just be a quarterback, maybe a project developmental guy. Tony Romo gets hurt, Kellen Moore gets hurt, he becomes the franchise quarterback. All right, so that was a happy accident, if you will, and a good one. My point is they've been more lucky than good. The Packers are way more good than lucky.
Yeah,
they're way more good than lucky. They make their own luck. And so I do think the Cowboys want, and that's why I praised the Trey Lance move. I praised it because it's just a healthy organizational habit to bring in quarterbacks. Just bring them in or draft them. I mean, look at Mr. Irrelevant with the San Francisco 49ers. Their 49ers window should be closed, shut.
Yep.
They should, and I love my man Shano. I love Shano and I love Lynch. But if they had not found Brock Purdy, there's a good chance they both would probably be out of it. I know it's crazy to say that, but that Trey Lance deal was so bad, and they wouldn't have a quarterback right now.
No, I mean Jimmy G's washed out of the league.
Yeah, exactly. They would have been begging Tom Brady to come back and play for them. They wouldn't have had a quarterback. But now to Brock Purdy, they look like geniuses. They all look like nobody even talks about the Trey Lance trade and how bad it was. Nobody even brings it up. Nobody even talks about it. It's one of the worst trades in the history of the NFL. Nobody even brings it up because they found that quarterback. You erase mistakes when you find that guy, and it's Mr. Irrelevant. All right, last one taken. So it's just a healthy habit. Just keep drafting them, keep bringing them in. And I think the Cowboys, that's the lesson to be learned right for the Cowboys, for everybody. Because the Cowboys have drafted the fewest quarterbacks in the NFL since 1999. And I think they're on the opposite end of that. They're a hope is a strategy kind of franchise. And it's reflected in their the way they approach quarterback. And now it's coming back to haunt them, but they need to handle the Dak situation, which is also something that they haven't been proactive enough on, and allow Dak to gain all the leverage in that negotiation. So Dak's waiting on Jordan Love. Dak's just like Dak's on, and Dak's happy they're prioritizing CD. He's like, no, prioritize CD. Let Jordan Love get paid, and he's praying that Tua gets something out. I don't think Tua will get even as much as Jordan. Tua's got the injury history, and I do wonder if the Dolphins are reluctant to invest a ton of money into it because of the injury history.
Yeah.
But who knows? Or maybe they have injury guarantees in the contract.
They may have injury guarantees.
Guaranteed money.
Yeah, the Dolphins may be in a different spot too, because they Yeah, their salary cap, they had to let it go a lot of players this year. And so they're kind of in a weird salary cap spot and, trying to figure out that division still. I don't know what they're going to do, because they could just try and push it forward and trust in the process and go for it, or they could just make a sweeping changes in a year or two. So who knows?
They could. Yeah, Mike McDaniel could be like, "Hey, I want to draft my quarterback.
Yeah,
y'all can't tie me to Tua because it's not mine. I repurposed him for y'all.
Yeah,
and I did a good job, but I've taken him as far as I can. Now I need, and that's something we see too at quarterback. We see upgrades. Right, every now and then you'll see the Sean McVay did. He's like, nah, upgrade. I'm upgrading. Philadelphia did it. He's like, nah, we're upgrading. San Fran, of course, Kansas City, famously over Alex Smith. They're like, nah, we're upgrading. Every now and then you'll see a coach go, yeah, I know we're good, but I need a quarterback that can be great. And I wonder if Mike McDaniel, he's like, I got the system. My system works. Everybody knows that. I put together the players around the weapons around the quarterback. I'm a little limited there. I need a quarterback with a higher ceiling. You got to find me one.
Yeah.
And I know he really liked Quinn Ewers. He was looking at him. I'm just throwing it out there. He was looking at him he really was. When he had the pro day, he was throwing the pro day. He was standing too close to him. He literally was like in his personal space. There's a picture of him. I was like, why is he so close to Quinn like that? And I think he was looking at his throwing motion. And remember, Mike McDaniel studied Sark's offense intimately because he was trying to figure out the last time Tua was really productive. And one of the times was in Sark's offense. So he knows Sark's offense, and they have a lot of connective tissue because he's used a lot of the same concepts to weaponize Tua. Just throwing it out there.
So he's hoping
good at RPOs.
So he's kind of hoping that Quinn doesn't have a great season.
Yep, that's exactly what he's hoping. He's hoping that he kind of drops in the draft.
Drop him on down to me. Drop him on down.
And that'd be an easy investment for him, like at the bottom of the first round or something like that. But I don't think Quinn will drop that far. No doubt about it. I think Quinn will be in the top of the first round, or at least he won't drop past the middle of the first round. Okay. So that's Jordan Love, and Jordan Love's contract. I think he's going to get close to some Trevor Lawrence money. And if he does, it's already, I think, guaranteed Dak's don't get $60 million, but this will give him even more leverage. Like he needs it. He doesn't need any more leverage. How about this though? Brandon Ayuk. This was revealed in Pro Football Talk. This is related to the CeeDee Lamb contract because Brandon Ayuk wants $30 million a year. He wants to be one of those receivers. 4 of those receivers in the league right now, and the reports are he wants to be one of them. Pro Football Talk was reporting that when he was given permission to seek a trade, which was right around the draft, he was given permission to seek a trade. They're saying that there were several teams that were interested, 5 teams actually, what they're saying were interested, and that the 49ers couldn't come to a deal with any of them. But apparently he said 5 teams, comes from Pro Football Talk, said that negotiations, he said at the time, the magic number was $28 million per year. And he said, regardless, there were 5 teams, we're told, who were ready to pay Ayuk what he wanted before the draft. If they could also reach acceptable trade terms with the 49ers, then he would have been traded. Okay, we know that didn't happen.
Yeah.
So we don't know what the 49ers were asking. I'm assuming they were asking for a first-round pick and other stuff. Who knows? We know they rejected an offer of a second-round pick from the Patriots. And potentially the Steelers and the Commanders were some other teams that were interested. I think the 49ers are going to try to keep him and force him to play there, and you have to because of your Super Bowl window. Like you can't afford to lose him. He makes you the best receiving core potentially in the NFL. Without him, you drop off to like the middle of the NFL in terms of your ranking of your receivers.
And we've talked about, I think that the only way you could really trade Ayuk is if you get back another wide receiver. But I think that's partially, if you get a first round pick and maybe a first and third or something like that, you can try and, there's not really 3-team deals in the NFL. They don't really do that often, but something where you say, we're going to take that first and that third and then just immediately turn that around into another wide receiver.
Just package it, throw something else in there and package
it. So we're going to go ahead and take that and we'll trade Ayuk, but what we get from, we don't need him, but we need another good wide receiver who can go downfield. So why don't we take those picks and take them and shift him over and to another wide receiver, and then that's under contract for 2 or 3 more years, and we'll feel okay about it, or at least one more season to get us through this. When someone's happy to be there, I think you could see something to that effect if they do make a trade. That they do, I just can't imagine they're going to let him go and not try and replace him.
No, and he's requested a trade, hasn't demanded a trade, and there's a difference. But I think they're going to end up. Like I said it'd be tough to pay him because they're already paying Debo. But man, you got to work out something where at least for this season he'll stick around. And I don't know how that works and how they could do that. You don't want to force him to do it because you don't want him there to be a toxic, influence in the locker room, that kind of guy. Because he's pretty toxic. Like he'll go on social media and post stuff, and he's one of those guys. Like he'll let his frustration and disdain be known via social media. And that can be, obviously bad for the locker room and chemistry in the locker room. So that's something to consider. But he's helping CD's case, is my point. And maybe CD's case doesn't need to be made. But if he ends up getting any deal done or getting traded for a deal, I mean, that's, like I said, that helps CD's case or comes back to CD. And the owner of the Cincinnati Bengals, and we'll hear from him actually later on the show. He said that the ownership, the Bengals, are going to bend over backwards to get the Jamar Chase deal done. So when you got that being said, I think you're good. So Jamar Chase, his deal might be getting done on the same timetable as a CD.
I don't know, because they've also
range.
said that they don't expect the Jamar Chase deal to happen this year.
Really?
They've said they did not expect it to happen in camp. That basically, because of how salary cap strung they are and everything else, they don't expect to make that deal relatively soon. So they expect to get done. They want to keep Chase. They want to pay Chase, but they don't expect the deal to get done right away.
Okay. Yeah, but at least, I mean, I guess saying that you'll bend over backwards to get the deal done, I guess doesn't mean you're going to get it done right now.
No, I think they're in that period where they are really at the end of that window where they know T. Higgins is playing on that franchise tag. They have that defensive lineman who wants out as well. So there's a couple players on the Bengals who are not happy with not getting paid right now, and they understand they may have to make some changes in the next couple of years to try and reset. And I think they don't necessarily want to do that until they see how this season goes a little bit more.
Yeah, they say they want to keep them all, but you're right. They have not necessarily stated a timetable. They just have expressed their commitment to keep them, but no timeline on the deal. So CD's deal is probably going to be the next deal that gets done. And I guess that's good for Jamar Chase because Jamar Chase could end up making more than CD. In the end, if depending on what that structure is there, and he's got another season under his belt if they don't get it done this year. All right, that's some NFL discussion, news, notes, and nuggets about some of the contract extensions happening around the league, or at least the contract discussions about extensions and negotiations happening around the league. We come back, we'll go behind the burnt orange curtain. We'll talk about the latest Heisman odds that are out. We'll see where Quinn Ewers is ranked and those Heisman odds. I believe DraftKings has those. We'll also, I have a question. I saw something on social media about some Longhorn teams celebrating their championship. And I wonder how this works. We'll discuss it on the other side, right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis and Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Davis coming back on the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn, Rod Davis here. Austin is a great city, whether it's traffic or not. It's one of the fastest growing cities in America, and as our city continues to grow and thrive, so do our friends over at Ironworkers Local Union 482. Many of the iconic landmarks we love in this city were created and built by the skilled craftsmanship of Ironworkers Local 482, like Pennybacker Bridge and DKR Stadium. The folks over at Ironworkers Local 482 don't just go to the office, they build it. So if you're looking for an exciting employment opportunity or a refreshing career change, or you want a new challenge, or you want to feel valued by your employer, you can become a valued member of this prestigious organization, Ironworkers Local Union 482, and right now is a perfect time to do it. They're hiring over 3,000 people for a huge project right here in Central Texas. They're offering competitive wages, competitive benefits, a pension plan. They even offer training for unskilled labor through their apprenticeship program. So right now is a perfect time for you to join this great program and this great organization. You just go online to apply at ironworkers482.org. That's ironworkers482.org. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to go behind the burnt orange curtain, talk a little Texas football here. I want to get into these Heisman odds. I saw them come up yesterday, the latest Heisman odds, and these are from our friends over at DraftKings. And there's a lot of hype. And actually, at SEC Media Days, we saw Quinn Ewers get asked about, or at least they asked about the Heisman odds. I think Sark they asked about the Heisman odds for Quinn, and he talked about it and talked about how there's a lot expected of Quinn, and Quinn's really stepped up his leadership this year. If he's gonna be in New York for the Heisman, I do think ultimately for Quinn, it's gonna be because this is Quinn's team, right? That's the beauty of the situation that Quinn's in right now. It's not, last year was more about the skill talent around them, the defense, right? You had a national award winner on the defensive line, first round pick on that defensive line. That got a lot of attention. You still had great skill positions around Quinn. So I don't know if anybody described it as Quinn's team. And the year before that, you had Bijan and Rojo. Seemed like there was more Bijan and Rojo and their team. That was kind of the identity of the offense. The identity of this offense is going to be Quinn Ewers, veteran quarterback, multiple year starter. And I think they'll build it around really the passing game and Quinn. And not saying that Sark won't have 1,000-yard rusher and Sark won't commit himself to the run. I think all those things will happen. But I think the strength of the team ultimately, because of Quinn and the depth at wide receiver, that Sark hasn't had that much depth since he's been here. The offensive line, which brings back 4 or 5 starters. I think that's where it starts. That's where all of your matchup advantages are. And I think you will pass to set up the run this year. I think your early down pass rates increase. I think your straight drop back pass rates increase because he'll trust Quinn more in those situations. And by the way, NFL scouts want to see him in straight drop back situations. They want to see more of it because Sark's offense is it's inundated with all of these force multipliers and cheat codes, play action pass, RPOs, runs a lot of screen passes. It's very quarterback friendly. But with that being so quarterback friendly, it distorts the evaluation of the quarterback. And ultimately in the NFL, they just want to see if he can drop back. Can he drop back and sling it? Third and long situations. And for Sark, he tries to stay out of third and long, which everybody should. And those third and long situations usually where you get a straight drop back. And in Sark's offense, if it's not third and long, you probably gonna get a play action pass, you're gonna get an RPO, or you're gonna get a screen. If it's third and long, that's the only chance, high probability you'll get a straight drop back situation. But I think you'll get more of those without the third and longs this year. You'll get them potentially, hell, man, you may even get him on first down or early downs. Just because I think he'll trust Quinn in the offense because he's been now a part of it going on 3 years. So that's why I could see Quinn taking a huge leap because I think Sark's going to invest more in him in terms of this, giving him more ownership of the scheme. He should also now, we talk about quarterbacks, nobody wants to be a game manager. They want to be an executive, right? You want to be an executive, not a game manager. And this is the year for Quinn to become a game executive, right? For him to be able to have complete ownership and command of the offense. He should be able to make checks and audibles, regularly at the line of scrimmage. And Sark should be able to trust him with that now. And especially now you're going to have the headset communication. That also could take Quinn's game to another level. I mean, just being able to talk him through things, provide clues and hints, and just being able to drop little tidbits of information to him before the snap and in the, obviously in his pre-snap process, I think that could really, really help Quinn. I don't think he needs it, but this year that's going to be big. And I think the better the relationship, the communication, the, camaraderie, the closeness that you have between the play caller and the quarterback, I think it's going to benefit, I think hugely. It'll be hugely beneficial to whoever has that really, that they're really good and solid communication. Like say if you think about it, because you're going to have to really be succinct in your communication. You don't want to overwhelm them with information, and you don't want to be, giving them unnecessary information. And so if Sark and Quinn go back 3 years and they've been talking about this offense for 3 years, so they probably have different references and different almost like inside jokes, if you would, they can share about the offense and how to make certain adjustments. When if you were a first time starter or a first time play caller with a quarterback, or you hadn't had 3 years of of time to build that chemistry and continuity and solidify that communication, you could have miscommunication, a lot of it, and not really understand what the coordinator or the play caller is trying to convey. And, things could be lost in translation. I don't think you'll have that with Quinn and with Sark. I think they'll have uh, some of the best communication, effective communication via the headset of any play caller and quarterback in the country. When you think about it, I mean, who would have better? Because how many multi-year starting quarterbacks are there with their veteran play caller also returning? Not many. I haven't done the research, but that because of the turnover you have in college football. I mean, Texas is one of the only teams, I think one of four actually, that return head coach, OCDC, special teams coordinator, strength and conditioning coach, and a multi-year starting quarterback. And, Sark is big on the continuity. I think it pays off potentially with this new headset communication. So all those are reasons why I think you could see Quinn in New York for the Heisman. Dylan Gabriel, currently based on these odds from DraftKings, he has the best odds to win the Heisman, plus 750. New quarterback, new system. Carson Beck at plus 800, who is now a multi-year starting quarterback, or at least will be this year. Last year was his first year as a starter, but Quinn's going on his third year as a starter. And Quinn has the third best Heisman odds at plus 1,000 based on DraftKings. Jackson Dart's right behind him. Man, a heavy influence of SEC QBs. Jackson Dart right behind him at plus 1,400. And then Will Howard, Will the Thrill, or Will Spill the Pill Howard. He's tied with Jalen Milroe plus 1,500 for the Heisman odds. So the SEC has, if you look at the top nine, because this is what they listed here, the top nine best odds for the Heisman. The SEC has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the nine. That's pretty wild. Carson Beck at plus 800, Quinn at plus 1,000, Jackson Dart at plus 1,400, Jalen Milroe plus 1,500, Nico Amialavea, I'm sure I screwed that up. Leva, he's at plus 1,800. That's Tennessee's quarterback. LSU Garrett Nussmeier plus 2,200. So, man, SEC representing for the Heisman odds there. All right, so for Quinn though, I think ultimately the chemistry he has with his wide receivers, the timing of it and how quickly he can establish that. If they come out of the gates first couple of games of the season, and Quinn's chemistry with those wide receivers is already clicking at a high level, and it's not something that needs time to establish the rapport and time to establish that timing. It's I if he struggles with that early on, then that I think can have a negative effect on his Heisman odds. If he gets off to a slow start, can't afford to get off to a slow start. You have Michigan in the second game. So if they can work past that potential issue, and it didn't look good in the spring game, but you only had a couple of drives, so nobody is, I don't think anybody's overblowing what they saw in the spring game, but that's maybe a concern. Even Sark mentioned it at SEC Media Days. He said the wide receiver rotation, which will be expanded, who is getting the most targets, who's getting the most reps. He also brought up one of the factors will be their chemistry with Quinn, and Quinn's camaraderie with those wide receivers and timing with certain wide receivers. So that's going to be a big part of it. All right, we come back. We'll get into the topic for the big fat poll of the day. We'll also learn what the musically themed day of the week is, also one of my favorites. All of that and more when we come back right here on the Horn, on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babies. Coming right back.
Back in the Rodcast on a Tuesday morning, and that means it's a top of the charts Tuesday where all the songs we play this morning will be number one on this day in history. Little hanky panky to kick things off here on a Tuesday morning.
Hey, man, that was like controversial, I bet, back in the day.
Yeah, this is 1966.
Yeah. I bet it's considered like indecent or something. I don't know.
We're getting close to summer of love in 66.
Yeah. And back then, trust me, there were a lot of old folks that were uncomfortable with the summer of love.
It was number one, though. Number one.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure it was. Yeah.
Let's get to the big fat poll today. Text line's open. 512-447-3776 is the text line number, or you can join us on the conversation on X at the Horn ATX.
Patrick's Big Fat Poll of the Day on the Horn.
Yesterday, we talked about the SEC preseason media poll and the first and second and third team players for Texas. And so I wanted to ask you guys today, which Longhorn who did not make the first team all SEC in the preseason media poll has the best chance to make that list? So we know Kelvin Banks was the only Texas Longhorn who made the first team. All SEC.
Bert Auburn made it too.
Bert Auburn made it as a special team.
I know. Yes. I've been messing it up to disrespecting Bert.
That's
Auburn.
True. Bert Auburn made it as well. And so who do you think has the best chance to make the first team by the end of the season? Quinn Ewers, do you think he can pass Carson Beck, get a win in Austin over Georgia, and maybe help sway that one? CJ Baxter, we've talked about that a little bit yesterday, that he could, if he has a really good season, could step up. Jahdae Barron, if he steps up as a DB this year to try and get in that world. Trey Moore, we think that he's close, but it's just no one's seen him do it on this level. But if he performs at a high level, SEC rewards defensive line play. Could Trey Moore be in it? Could it be Malik Muhammad or Andrew Makuba there in the secondary? Anthony Hill's another name that you could throw on that list as someone who could step up and be in that. Or it could be one of the wide receivers. One of the wide receivers that we don't know who would be, Jonte Cook, or Ryan Wingo as a freshman seems like it'd be difficult to get there, but
Bond is probably the most likely. But
Isaiah Bond could get there as well.
I think CJ Baxter is probably the best pick because I don't know if we talked about this yesterday. There's Trevor Etienne, who even last year, he was splitting time last year at Florida. He's going to go to Georgia now, and obviously got one of the best offensive lines in the country to run behind. So you definitely will see a huge leap and improvement. But, I feel like if you can get close to 1,000 yards, which I think C.J. Baxter will get close to it. He had 600-some yards last year. I think you'll be in the conversation to be an all-first-team SEC running back. And there aren't any, and not disrespecting anybody, but there aren't considered any elite bell cow running backs in the SEC this year. Like who's the elite bell cow running back in the SEC? There aren't many. I don't think there are any, really.
Yeah.
So I think that's why CJ Baxter's got a shot. I think he's got a good shot. Linebacker is tough in the SEC, man. There are a lot of good linebackers.
There's a lot of good linebackers.
I like Anthony Hill, and I think he's got a chance. But that's competition's going to be stiff at linebacker in the SEC. They got some of the best in the country. So I'm looking at more who's the competition. Like I think Malik Muhammad might have a really good chance just because I don't know if there are any corners who are considered elite, top level corners right now in the SEC. There's some good corners, but he's thrown in there with the good ones. Like, there's some good corners in there.
Yeah,
nobody's really separated themselves and like, oh no, that's the best corner in the SEC. Those are the two or three best corners.
And
he's got a shot.
And you get 4 in the first team.
Exactly.
So you Jahdae or Malik Muhammad both could fall in that category of, well, there's 4, so you slide into that.
Honestly, I love Jahdae Barron. I don't think he's gonna. The only reason I say this because he couldn't make the first team all Big 12, and it wasn't his fault. He had a season in 2022 that was worthy of being first team all Big 12, and they didn't want to give it to him now. Like, I don't know, for some reason, I don't know if he makes the leap to become first team all SEC.
It is going to be different media.
I would love it, but I would love it, but I'm just saying, I remember in the Big 12, I'm like, why can't Jahdae Barron get love in the Big 12? What is going on? He had one of the best seasons in the history of Texas football in 2022, and I believe he got second team.
Yeah, but that was also Jalen Ford didn't get the love Jalen
It
Ford
wasn't-
deserved. Like that was there was a lot of media that was voting against the UT at that point too.
Could have been, but still, like I said,
He
we'll
should
see.
have. But yeah, I remember that was one. There was several ones in the 2022, 2023 where there was some questionable media
Ford
polls. The Jalen Ford one where he didn't win that was
horrible.
It was ridiculous. So I will say he probably should have been and maybe was left off due to other reasons other than football reasons.
Yeah,
and he is second team. He is second team All SEC right now in the preseason poll.
Yeah, no,
so is Malik Muhammad. So is Makuba.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. It's a big leap to try to go to be on the first team, and I don't know if they're gonna let Texas get 2 DBs on there either. So you're gonna only pick one of them dudes.
Yeah,
now, you ain't gonna get. They ain't gonna. I don't think they'll get put 2 DBs unless Texas secondary just has one hell of a year, and I hope that's the case. But I just don't
we
see
all
that.
hope that's the case. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's an interesting question. Let me know what you think on the text line 512-447-3776. We'll get it posted up on X2 as soon as possible. But yeah, which Longhorn who didn't make the first team All SEC in the preseason media poll has the best chance to make it to that list? And right now it is Kelvin Banks and Bert Auburn are your 2 that are first team All SEC preseason picks.
Yeah.
So who do you think could make that list? And the reality is Quinn, you'd say, would be the easy one, except for Carson Beck's there, and there's only one quarterback spot, which makes it a lot harder.
Yeah, exactly. That's why that's tough. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think that's gonna be a tough place for you. I mean, there's some positions that are just gonna be really tough because they're deep in that position in the league, like D tackle, like Alfred Collins without the. And I don't even know if Alfred Collins is even on any. I don't think he got any recognition at all, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember. I don't recall him getting any recognition. But I digress. If you wanted him to contend for that spot, he had a great year. I mean, Kentucky's got a guy that's going to be a first round pick in Deion Walker. He's fantastic, and hell, Georgia's got like 2-3 guys as they always do. You know what I mean? So it'll be tough even on, with D line for Texas because it's a line of scrimmage league.
Yeah.
Like I said, so the front 7 and D line will just be tough for Texas to penetrate because the SEC's got so much talent there. I think the secondary actually is where the SEC this year is a little light, right? Georgia lost multiple starters out of their secondary. So did Alabama. That's usually your elite secondary places right there. LSU's defense was overall just bad last year. They had to replace all their coaches. It seems like the secondary to me is where Texas can, and they got 3 guys.
3 guys on the second team.
In the second team. Like, so obviously the SEC is looking at Texas secondary.
Yeah, D line only Trey Moore made the 3rd team. He's the only D lineman who's on the list.
And his 3rd team, got double-digit sacks and tackles for loss. Made the 3rd team. So that's a line of scrimmage league, man. It's tough to make it as a D lineman in the SEC. Not saying Texas can't do it. I hope they do. But, and think about Texas. You got Ethan Burke. You got Barron Terrell and Colton Vosick and now Trey Moore. And you be rotating a lot of guys there, too. So I don't even know if someone will get the bulk of enough snaps to make enough impact plays solely, individually to make the team. Because I think they're going to rotate a lot of guys. They should. They're deep there. Yeah. And I still don't even know Trey Moore's going. Is Trey Moore going to start? Is he starting?
I mean, he's going to play.
Is he starting? Is he starting? Is he taking one? If he's taking Barron Terrell or Ethan Burke's spot, is he starting or is he finishing? I almost feel like he's going to finish the games, and then you're going to have Barron Terrell and Ethan Burke start the games, and then you'll have him and I don't know, some other combination of him and another great pass rusher that'll probably end the games because Texas is hoping they're going to be up in games.
And because you still have Colin Johnson and Colton Vosick coming up on that.
Colin Simmons,
Colin Simmons and Colton Vosick,
yeah. You got, I don't know. And you got Justice Finkley, try not to forget him.
Yeah.
They're deep at that spot. So I just don't see defensive line being able to do it. They're going to rotate guys, and the league is too deep there. Your best bet to me, CJ Baxter and one of them secondary dudes.
Yeah.
I know that sounds crazy, but oh, you know what? The best bet is Tripp. You know what? I'll tell you on the other side. I already know. We didn't even mention it. It's the easiest one, and it's almost guaranteed for these. Actually, it's 2 for these guys to make first team All SEC who are not currently listed on the media preseason poll as all first team SEC. It's easy. I got it. I'll give it to you on the other side. Should have been thinking about this the whole time. We'll do that. We'll also talk about multiple game-winning drive winners. Multiple game-winning drive winners. This is an interesting stat that I saw yesterday. I want to bring up to you. NFL related. We dive into the clutch gene all the time. Game-winning drives, fourth quarter comebacks. How about we go even deeper down that rabbit hole? That's what we're going to do on the other side. We'll also talk about what position is coming back in vogue in the NFL and why it's coming back in vogue in the league. All of that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis coming back on the horn. Welcome back to the Rodcast, top of the charts Tuesday. That's when my man Patrick, the Idealionaire, my co-host, plays jams that reach the top of the Billboard charts on this day in history. And that's why it's one of my favorite musically themed days of the week. I always learn something new on the top of the charts Tuesday. Also, Patrick is responsible for coming up with the topic for the big fat poll of the day, which he's already come up with, and we'll get that posted for you. The topic for the big fat poll of the day is what, Patrick?
Which Longhorn who didn't make the first team all SEC in the preseason media poll has the best chance to make that list?
Yep, I got it, and I'm I apologize. I should have known this from the get go. I said CJ Baxter, and I think CJ Baxter's in there. I think any of those DBs, just one of them, whether it be Makuba, Malik Muhammad, or Jade Barron, I think all of them are capable, but they won't let all of them make it. So it'll be one of those three potentially that also could make it. I think it's going to be tough on Anthony Hill, even though I think he's great. I think he's awesome. I mean, the guy's got the capability. One day he will be first team All SEC. I just think it's a line of scrimmage league, tough in the front seven. Got good linebackers in the SEC. Got a really good D lineman in the SEC. Whether you're talking about on the edges or whether you're talking about interior line, so that may be a little bit tougher for Texas. And even wide receiver, hell, Luther Burden over at Missouri is legit. He's elite. LSU's always got a dude somewhere around there. So our wide receiver is not as easy as you would think either. They got some pretty decent wide receiver talent, but I think Texas will have Isaiah Bond should be in that conversation, no question. But the one that's a no-brainer is actually kickoff return and punt return. I think Silas Bowden and Matthew Golden are going to be your punt and kick returners, and think they're going to be the best potentially in the SEC. Silas Bowden last year, he had 3 punt returns for 97 total yards, 32 yards per punt return, and he had 1 touchdown. He did have some kickoff returns too. I think he had 17 kickoff returns. So he averaged 23 yards per kickoff return, not bad. But as a punt returner, he was nasty. And remember, when they picked him up, Jeff Banks tweeted out, I think, speed, speed, speed. So he was excited about it. And he's the special teams coordinator. So he knew, oh, no, this guy's gone. They need somebody to replace Xavier Worthy. Xavier Worthy was the best punt returner, in the country. And they needed somebody to replace him. And I don't know if he's going to be as good as Xavier Worthy, but he's pretty damn dynamic. And I think dynamic enough to be your first team SEC punt returner. Matthew Golden, you go look at his kickoff return numbers from last season. First of all, in his career, his kickoff return, he's got only 14 in his 2-year career, but he's averaging over 31 yards per kickoff return. And last year, he had 9 kickoff returns, averaged over 35 yards per, and had 2 touchdowns. That's a pretty good hit rate. 9 returns, 2 touchdowns. So he's averaging a touchdown every 4 to 5 returns. That's pretty damn good. So honestly, I think both of those guys could enter the SEC as the best punt returner and kickoff returners in the SEC. So those probably are the no-brainers, actually. And honestly, the only thing that would hurt them is teams would stop kicking to them.
Yeah.
The only thing that would hurt their candidacy, it would be they'll be so damn good at the beginning of the year, or maybe in the non-con, that when they get to SEC play, people are like, I'm not kicking to them, dude. That's stupid. So they just don't get any attempts and opportunities. That could hold it up.
Yeah.
I'll throw that out there. But other than that, those guys are going to be, Jeff Banks' special teams is going to be on point. I mean, he has been the most consistent coordinator on the 40 acres, more so than PK, more so than Kyle Flood, or even more so than Sark as a play call. Like his special teams has always been one of the top 25 best special teams units in the country. These 3 years that he's been here. And he's had a lot of turnover. So he's had a lot of different kickers and things, and he's actually had still consistent, really good, effective execution and culture in the special teams, and they're aggressive. Right? Yeah. They go to block kicks, and they got trick plays they run a lot of. Their return game is even pretty aggressive. I mean, there are times where you would think that Xavier Worthy should either stay away from the football or would try to call fair catch, but no, he would catch it, and I wouldn't see him get yelled at. It seemed like he had full a full freedom to do whatever he wanted back there. And there usually punt returners have rules. It's like if the gunner is within a certain distance of you, or if you're at a certain yard line and this is the situation that you let the ball bounce, that kind of thing. Xavier Worthy didn't seem to have any of those restrictions. It seemed like Xavier Worthy had full freedom to do whatever he wanted back there, and he had trust in Xavier Worthy. Maybe it was just trust that was built over time, but maybe Silas Bowden would have that same kind of trust. And I don't know who's going to be the 2 kickoff returners in the back, if it'll be it'll be Matthew Golden and someone else. I think it'll be Matthew Golden and Silas Bowden. I think Bowden and Golden. Golden and Bowden. Whatever you want to do. I think that'll end up being your returners. Golden and Bowden.
Golden and Bowden. The Oldens.
Golden and Bowden. The Bowden and Golden. Yeah, no doubt. All right, there you go. So that's the topic for the Big Fat Poll today. Go check it out. It is that's just my personal one. I'm sure my man Patrick will have some other options up there for you listed.
I went with options not on the special teams. Just
no, I know.
That's
Yes.
So that is the correct answer, probably. But we went
that's
for the
boring.
more fun choice of who do we think will make it in
yes.
offense or defense.
Yes, I mean that's boring for me to talk about the return game for 5 minutes.
It will be the punter.
Yeah, exactly. I get it. Trust me. But I just wanted to make sure I was accurate on that. Okay. We also talked about the NFL and some of the reported contract negotiations going on. Jordan Love would be the most notable. By the way, Jordan Love taking my advice. I believe he is holding in. He is there at camp. He is present, but he's not participating in practice, and he is not expected to participate in any preseason, of course, until he signs his extension. But he's there with the team. The hold in. See? And it works for him. The hold in, as me and Patrick talked about this yesterday, is probably not for everybody, because, the hold in, if you want to be there, then sometimes you want to avoid any, confrontation, so you can try to stay away and go to the weight room or maybe go to the film room by yourself. But if you don't have to worry about that, and I think the Packers are an organization where, they're not going to try to put some unnecessary pressure on the young man because they're used to dealing with divas and stuff like that with Aaron Rodgers and even Brett Favre a little bit. And he doesn't seem like he even has that kind of personality at all. That's why I think he's the hold in. I mean, maybe Brett Favre. Remember how many times Brett Favre retired and came back? It was like 2 or 3 times he'd retire. He'd come back because he just liked the drama of it, which is great. I mean, I enjoyed it too. It was good for.
He just kept trying to have people bow to him, and then they call his bluff, and he'd be like, "Well, no, I'm retiring then. I told you I would retire." Then 2 days later, he's like, "Have they called yet? They ain't called yet." Oh man,
I'm coming out of retirement then. Yeah, no, exactly. It was fun. It was fun. It really was. It was fun to follow. But he liked a little bit of drama, and we know Aaron Rodgers, obviously. He's a bit of a diva. That's not in Jordan Love's DNA. Not yet, anyway. We'll talk about 5-6 years from now, then we'll be a different Jordan Love by then. But right now, I don't think you have to worry about that. So the hold in works for him. This is the only team that is owned by the fans. All right. So that's a big point. I talk about how fans at times will take the side of ownership and management in these contract negotiations. Well, those fans are actually the owners. So you definitely want to show that, hey, I'm invested. I want to be here. I just need to be paid, my market value, but I want to be a part of the team because that team is the community. It's not, it's synonymous with that community, which owns the team. Yeah. If there was any situation that was ideal for a hold in, not a hold out, where you show up and go, to the meetings and you're around your team, but you don't practice and you don't put yourself in harm's way and you don't play in preseason games, it would probably be the quarterback for the Green Bay Packers. Yeah. Right. It's just the ideal hold in situation.
And I think also the quarterback is more a position for the hold in too, where you're such a team leader and you have to be around it so much that it's very, very evident if you're not going to be there and you're a holdout, it becomes the top story. And so you're going to have that confrontation anyway, because every reporter is going to be contacting you. Everyone's going to be, so you can't really avoid it as much as a wide receiver or especially someone on the defense that maybe can go a little bit more under the radar with a holdout. But if Jordan Love holds out and doesn't show up at camp, ESPN's on his front doorstep.
Yep.
And
no doubt.
What are you doing? What are you working? And we're following your car to the gym, and Jordan Love goes to gym. Jordan Love
goes. Yeah, exactly. No, you're right. That's exactly what it is. Like he was having. No, you're right about that. That's
so
exactly
I think he knows. Like, man, I'm safer here than I am on my own.
Yep.
But if CeeDee Lamb holds out, they're not going to go and follow because Dak Prescott is at camp. And that's the story. So I think at quarterback, sometimes it's easier. The hold in may be even easier than the holdouts.
Yep. It's a good point. I think certain organizations lend themselves to the hold in
yes.
and positions. You're right. Quarterback definitely lends itself better to the hold in rather than hold. And I think my suggestion, if I was an agent or if I was a player, I think everybody go hold in. Hold in is better than the holdout. The holdout, there's just more negatives. There's more blowback with the holdout. With the hold in, there's really very few negatives. You brought up one, which is confrontation. You got to deal with that. But other than that, it's not a lot of negatives. You can avoid that. Not a lot of negatives to the hold in because you're there with your team, and people can't call you selfish, and they can't call
but
you.
I think there is something to the holdout for CD, which is it's worked.
No,
and it worked for Zach Martin. So the hold in, we don't know how the hold in works with Jerry. Jerry may be fine with the hold in.
Jerry may be fine with the hold in.
Jerry says you're here. The fans are seeing you. I don't care if you practice or not. I don't give a damn. You're here. I'm not paying you.
I don't know how they react to the hold in.
We'll wait. I got to see a few more leaps to fall.
I would say the hold in is relatively new, though. I mean, the hold in is it's like the last 5 years or something.
Zach Martin didn't hold in. Now he's a veteran, and veteran hold in is veterans are like, man, I just want that extra 2 weeks.
Yeah, they don't want to go. They don't want to go to camp. Yeah, exactly. That's why they hold. That's why they hold. They don't want to go to camp. But no, I think for, like I said, certain positions, I believe it's better. But yeah, I don't know how Jerry's gonna react to that. I have no idea how Jerry will react to it. I mean, Jerry could be very passive aggressive with it. Who knows? So maybe, like I said, certain maybe for the Cowboys because they like to play the game with the media. Maybe they're not the best organization to hold in with because maybe they'll put you in a situation where you got to answer some questions with the media. Maybe they'll put some pressure on because you never know what Jerry Jones is going to say. Usually the ownership will stay out of that, and maybe the general manager will talk about something.
But who's the general manager?
Cowboys.
Who's the general manager?
Yes, exactly. With the Cowboys, you got to worry about that. Cowboys owner and general manager. Yep, you got to worry about that.
Which, by the way, did you see Jerry had to push back his press conference?
Why? Because of like a lawsuit thing?
Yeah, because of paternity case.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
I
know Jerry's going. Honestly, Jerry might sign CDs to take the damn take the spotlight off of him. Like, I'm signing CD and Dak record deals. All right, I gotta go.
Somebody look over here.
Talk about that. Yeah, seriously. All right, there you go. So we'll get back to some NFL conversation. Oh, I want to bring this up because we didn't talk about it in the first hour, but I want to talk about it a little bit because I talked about it yesterday, and now I believe it even more. I didn't get a chance to watch all of it, but I got to see some of the highlights of the exhibition game Team USA, the men had with Germany, beat them 92-88.
Yeah.
After a really a dramatic finish to their game versus South Sudan, where they beat them 101-100. Needed LeBron James, hit the game winner, had 23-6-6 in that game. This was a game very similar where LeBron James put the team on his back at the end of the game in the fourth quarter, had 11 points in the fourth quarter, I believe, scored 26-4 throughout the game, and they won 92-88, still a little bit closer. And as Patrick and I have been telling you, they're not going to be blowing out these teams in the Olympics. You might get some nail biters and some really competitive finishes in clutch time to these games. But I said it yesterday, and I'll reiterate it. LeBron's legacy, he's playing like it's on the line because he knows that if you lose any of these games, nobody else on this team will have to deal with the consequences. Not KD, not Devin Booker, nobody else. He's the only one that's going to come back.
Steve Kerr, they're not going to be like, well, it's poorly coached. Go, well, you can't coach because LeBron's on the team. You can't coach that team. LeBron, he's the coach, so you can't. Yeah. No, and so it's not going to fall on anybody except for LeBron. He knows it, but it's just funny because but you also get to see these younger players watching LeBron and him taking over. And yeah, like, again, and I don't mean to harp on these guys, but like Tatum and Devin Booker, they're playing defense. They're playing their part of the game, but they basically get stopped once and they pass the ball off and don't do anything. They don't move without the ball. They're not used to playing good team basketball. And they just stand around and don't really get in the action. And then when they do something, they can be electric, and they just don't do anything again for another 10, 15 minutes. And so you see those young guys, and they just don't want to take over the game. And LeBron understands, okay, time for me to take over the game. This is what we got to do. And he's done it multiple times. And Embiid played better in the game. Anthony Davis and Embiid have been, at least in these points that they're getting down, just go inside and push around. And just go in there.
They're letting them bang, man. They're letting them bang.
It's
that's why LeBron's going downhill on him.
Yeah,
LeBron loves it. He's like, you know what? I know how to take over now.
This is FIBA basketball. That's that one when Wemby came in the league and everybody goes, so he's not gonna be able to handle the physicality. He goes, Y'all watch international basketball? It's physical because they don't have the athleticism. So there's not the same athleticism. So you have to push around more. It's what the NBA was in the 90s. There wasn't the athleticism. So you played more physical. And so you just see more physical basketball inside. Those guys are going in. They and this is, I'll never say this again, but they need to flop a little bit more, because when you watch Germany was flying all over the court and getting calls. And like Mo Wagner has been a guy like that. Daniel Theis has been a guy like that. Those guys were flying. Like there was one, Daniel Theis like 6'10", big guy. Drew Holiday like sets a screen, and Tice goes flying across the court. You're like, come on, man.
Hey, those guys watch soccer, man. They know how to do it.
Yeah, 6'3" guy didn't just come take you out. So you see that and you go, man, when you're inside, sometimes you got to, maybe sell it a little bit more. But yeah, basically they turn the ball over too many times. They don't get enough offensive rebounds. They allow too many offensive rebounds. So they're allowing other teams 10 to 15 more shots than they're getting. And that's always kind of a recipe for disaster, to allow the other team more and more shots. But, they're just not a team. They're a group of singular players, which is what you have in the USA a lot, because you just don't have guys that are used to playing together. And, they all come from different systems, and they don't really have anything that's great put together. So it's going to be a little bit rougher. You have to play Serbia in game one. Jokic is on that team. They played well against USA in the first half, kind of pulled off a little bit in the second half, but that's your first game in the Olympics. It's on Sunday. And then you play South Sudan again, who took you down to the wire. And then Puerto Rico in that group stage is your first three games. Puerto Rico should be the easiest one of the three, you think, now, because South Sudan's coming for blood after what they got in that last game. So it's not an easy path, but yeah, it's been interesting to see. KD is supposed to be back. They don't play until Sunday. Adding KD will be a huge piece to this. He's another guy who understands how to score in these moments. And so
take over a game,
and just score. They just have scoring droughts that are just brutal. Yeah. That's the reality, is they get beat up a little bit and push around, and they just stop scoring. And you can't have that. You can't have the most talented offensive team and go without scoring for 6 minutes, 8 minutes. Like it's absurd.
And the refs ain't gonna rescue you like they do in the NBA.
Yeah,
you could get to the line and get back in the groove. It's like, you gotta find another way.
Those guys are strong enough. Devin Booker had a play where he comes down and it's like a quick play, and he's on the baseline and he gets fouled and just throws it up with his offhand, and it goes in. And it was like
playground stuff.
Yeah, and you see it and you're like, just do that kind of thing where you're trying to create contact and get fouled, but just keep going to downhill.
That's what LeBron is doing. That's what LeBron is doing every time. He doesn't even. He looks like he's about to set him up for a mid range, and he just bullies his way to the rim every damn time.
Every time.
But I'm enjoying watching LeBron play like his legacy is on the line, because he knows in some way it is.
Dude.
And it is. I gotta tell you, it's some of the best. Really, if you're a LeBron fan, honestly, if you're a LeBron hater, it is some of the best ball you'll see from LeBron, because he gives his teammates time to help to take over the game. And he's like, all right, nobody's gonna do it. Okay, all right, I'll take it over. He does it defensively and off his old man style. It's great.
Then he came back down, hit a big three, which he's not the best 3-point shooter, but he hits a big three, and he just in the moment takes over. And it's that one again. I'm not sparking the MJ LeBron debate, but if you look at what a 39-year-old MJ was to a 39-year-old LeBron James, it is remarkable what he's doing at 39. The reason I bring that up is because Father Time is undefeated, and what LeBron is doing at 39 is remarkable.
Yeah, he's giving the middle finger to Father Time right now.
I mean, he's playing against a lot of these Olympic players are in their 20s and in teens, and like they are young players with a lot of energy and athleticism, and he is just going at them.
And this is why it's fascinating too, because they're so imperfect, right? They're just not a great team. They're a collection of talent. So teams are going in with the belief that they may be able to beat them, like that they can pull the upset. That's why it makes it even hard. Usually they don't have the intimidation factor. Usually Dream Team comes in like, damn, man, hope we keep it close, man. Hope we can just be competitive in this thing. No, because of the way they play these exhibitions, there's some teams, Pat, they're like, I think we can, if they're off and we're on, I think we got a shot to beat them. And that makes it even tougher. That makes it bad tough, because all these teams have belief that they can beat them. And that wasn't necessarily the case, but that's the whole point of
No.
the dream team, was to intimidate that you got no shot. You lucky to be here. Come out here and shake some hands and get some autographs while you get your butt kicked. And that is no longer the case this year. So I cannot wait to watch how they respond.
No,
I really can't.
If you want to see the biggest difference, watch the dream team, how many times they could pass the ball 4 times driving to the hoop and dunk the ball and no one tried to block it or no one really got in their way. And then watch this team and watch they make 1 or 2 passes and someone's in the lane, someone's hacking at their arms, someone's going at them, and it's just a different game overall. That the other team just kind of got out of the way and let him did it and watch them make these crazy passes. And now these guys are coming in not scared, and they're going at them trying to block shots and dunks and layups, and they're going after teams. It's a different world of international basketball, but it's made for games that. Normally you watch it in the second half. You turn out. You've not turned these games off in the second half. I'll tell you that much. You're watching
these games. I'm with you, man. They got to come down to clutch time. These are going to be some really potentially compelling games. I'm hoping they're not. But I got a feeling that Team USA is going to have to pull it out in clutch time a few times in the Olympics, and I cannot wait to see LeBron.
I mean, Utah
and go ahead.
In their group stage, you go against Serbia and South Sudan now, in which South Sudan we didn't think was going to be anything, but clearly they are.
Yeah.
So if you go against those 2 teams, anytime you play against Jokic, it's something.
I mean, come on now. He's a goat. So he's gonna have them ready to go.
The person who's the USA has 1 MVP out of the last 4 years. Serbia has one that's won 3 out of the last 4 years.
Wow, I actually didn't think about that. Yeah. I mean, no, like I said, it's very, very compelling to watch the desperation that I don't think I've seen a dream team play with this kind of desperation, or at least have situations where they have to play with this kind of desperation. But like I said, I can't wait to see how they respond. It's going to be really, really interesting. So LeBron James playing, and he's the flag bearer for Team USA this year too. So there's just a lot on the line for him. And like I said, LeBron haters, they are just waiting to pound. They probably still using this as pretty much fuel to hate on LeBron, but he knows if he loses, nobody else gets to go back. It's just gonna be all LeBron. Like,
come on,
LeBron.
Man. We're all supposed to root for Team USA. Everybody root for Team USA. We're on the same team on this one, guys.
I think so. I would think so, but
I know.
But
I'm aware. Yes. Hate is a powerful motivator.
Powerful, especially LeBron, because LeBron hatred is like it bleeds over into like some political stuff sometimes with people, and we're getting toward that time. And speaking of political, I saw this, and I will get to Raj Rand talk NFL. I promise. We kind of went off the rails, but still talking sports. I saw the Texas rowing team and the Texas volleyball team posted pictures at the White House.
I knew the volleyball team was there. I didn't know the rowing team, but yeah, their national championship celebration.
National championship. So they don't get to see a president or a vice president. Then they didn't get that privilege, right? Because of what's going on. Yeah, you're right. Because usually you get a chance to meet the president or the vice president.
I have no idea
because of obviously the climate and what's happening in our country, and President Biden deciding to step down and not pursue re-election. He hasn't really been available to the public. It would have been a big deal if they had a picture with him. And then of course Kamala is basically campaigning, or at least preparing to campaign. So I don't know if she was available. So kind of sucks that the ladies went there and didn't get to meet a president or a vice president, but they had a good time.
Yeah.
No, I thought about that logistically. I was like, what's that? Talk about a terrible time to be playing scheduled to go to the White House. It's like, oh, come on. Out of all the times they could have scheduled to go, even if it was like a couple of weeks ago, they still would have been all right.
Fine, yeah.
They'd have been fine. Like it happened this weekend, and I was like, they went this week. Oh, come on, man. Terrible timing. But I'm glad the ladies, congrats to them. Texas rowing and Texas volleyball celebrating their national titles. All right, we come back. We'll go into Raj rant of the day. I want to talk about this new stat. We always talk about the clutch gene when we usually use a couple of metrics. Usually use fourth quarter comebacks, game-winning drives to try to see what quarterbacks have that clutch gene that we talk about. Well, we went down the rabbit hole even further. We basically went down a rabbit hole even further. So we got another stat that we'll get into that helps us determine the clutch gene. We'll dive into that on the other side right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Davis coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast, and thank you guys for your participation. A lot of folks texted in and said that Kamala Harris was there, and they posted the White House actually posted a photo celebrating the championships of the ladies. So that's I didn't see that. I saw that on the Texas didn't post it, and I probably know why. They, they didn't post a photo, and I get it. They just posted photos of the ladies at the White House, so I didn't see that. So I appreciate you guys for correcting us on that or rectifying that. All right, let's get to some conversation here. The NFL. I want to talk about an article that I read. Scott Kaxmar came up with this article. I think it's really good. So, we talk about game-winning drives and fourth quarter comebacks all the time, and we often discuss Patrick Mahomes and him being clutch and how clutch he is. And if I just looked at game-winning drives, fourth quarter comebacks for quarterbacks, just on the recent list that, or at least the most recent list, if you're just looking at the winning percentage of the starting quarterbacks in the league in relation to fourth quarter comebacks and game-winning drives, Patrick Mahomes is 50% or 53% if you combine the two stats. He's at 50% for fourth quarter comeback wins and those opportunities. So basically, he's 19 and 19. 19 wins, 19 losses in fourth quarter comeback opportunities. He is 22 and 19. If you combine fourth quarter comeback opportunities and game winning drives, that's kind of what they look at as a clutch stat. That's 53%. Strangely enough, there is a quarterback with a better winning percentage in the NFL. Only one. I don't know how, but Kenny Pickett is at 60%. Don't ask me how.
Defense.
Kenny Pickett. Yeah.
Mike Tomlin.
So, yes, the clutch gene, you got to combine a lot of different metrics. This is one of the ways, but you're right. So it ain't all the quarterback.
Yeah, because again, in Kansas City, Andy Reid's bags, it requires a lot.
But I would say you still got to lead a fourth quarter, game-winning drive,
I agree.
Or a fourth quarter comeback, that kind of thing. So, but you're right. I'm with you. I think
field position's part of that.
Yes, no doubt. There's a lot goes into it.
Yeah.
I think, and a lot of it is the eye test too. We've seen Mahomes do it, so we're like, no, Mahomes did it, and he didn't have any help. That wasn't a team victory. That was Patrick Mahomes putting his cape on and going out there and putting the team on his back. Yeah, so I agree. So, like I said, there's no way to really determine the clutch team. We just look at different, metrics to try to do it. Because like I said, Jimmy Garoppolo famously is high on these lists, right? Jimmy Garoppolo at 52% win percentage in those situations. Jalen Hurts is at 43%. If you combine the metrics, like I said before, he's at 50%. Dak Prescott is higher than Cowboys fans will recognize. He's at 46% win percentage when you combine those metrics. So basically, let's think about game-winning drives for a second. All right, game-winning drives, which, like I said, is part of one of the things we look at trying to determine how clutch someone is, how many game-winning. When you're in that situation, can you engineer and execute a game-winning drive to put your team ahead? And so that metric, and then we just talked about the players that are high, or at least high on the win percentage ranking for game-winning drives and fourth quarter comebacks. But he looks at something that I've never really thought about: multiple game-winning drives in a game. Like, you have multiple times where you go ahead and have the chance to win the game, and it doesn't always work out because sometimes your defense, they give up another lead. They give up your lead. All right. And then you got to go engineer another game-winning drive in the same game. And it does happen. So that's what he was looking at. And I thought, oh, man, I want to see this list. So here it is, basically. And this is what inspired it. But basically inspired it was this past Super Bowl. Because, one of the things, we talked about this, the 49ers have been up multiple times, double digits on Patrick Mahomes. Hasn't mattered. He's found a way to win. I've told you guys that's kind of his X-Man ability. No lead is safe with Patrick Mahomes. But how about this? The Super Bowl, this past Super Bowl with Brock Purdy against Patrick Mahomes, 49ers versus the Chiefs. Lost in kind of the chaos of everything. It mentions here the last 7 possessions without a kneel down were all scoring drives in that game. He says, in fact, the 49ers, Brock Purdy put his team ahead 3 times in the fourth quarter and overtime and still lost the game to Patrick Mahomes. And got him thinking, oh man, how many times do the quarterbacks do that? That they have multiple game-winning drives in the game. It is the only playoff game in NFL history where a team had 3 go-ahead drives in the fourth quarter and overtime and still lost. Only time it's happened. Like I said, Shannon's got just some bad luck overall in championship games. It's the only playoff game in NFL history where a team had 3 go-ahead drives in the fourth quarter and overtime and still lost. And on top of that, he's got the greatest Super Bowl collapse. Greatest lead ever lost in Super Bowl history. What, a 23-point lead? What, to the Patriots and Tom Brady? Wow. Anyway, getting back to it. So he's looking at now basically multiple game-winning drives in the game. How often can a player engineer that? That is, if we talk about the clutch gene, that is clutch gene to the nth degree. All right, that's a player whose will not be denied. So he started kind of with Brock Purdy and Patrick Mahomes. And he said technically Super Bowl 58 would not count as one of the games where Patrick Mahomes only led one go-ahead drive in the fourth quarter overtime. But he said the other one was to tie, I believe. So it didn't really count from his multiple because he brought it back to tie it. That's what forces it to go to overtime. So he said in Patrick Mahomes' career, he's found 7 games where Patrick Mahomes led his team on multiple game-winning drives, including the Super Bowl against the Eagles. So multiple game-winning drives in the same game. And he thought, okay, 7, let's compare that to his peers and compare that to the all-time greats. So here is the comparison to his peers. Because Patrick Mahomes, 7 multiple game-winning drive games. He only has 1 loss in those 7 games, in those multiple game-winning drive opportunities. It's pretty damn good. You know who is tied with him? And not in, if you go look at just multiple game-winning drives, Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott has 7 multiple game-winning drives. And this is including regular season and playoffs. So I know you guys are saying, well, not in the playoffs. I agree. And he has him here with 1 loss among those multiple game-winning drive opportunities. Justin Herbert has had 4 in his young career. 0 losses among that group. Jalen Hurts has had 2. 1 loss, so he's 1-1 there. Derek Carr's had 8 such games where he's had multiple game-winning drives in the same game. 2 losses on his resume. Russell Wilson's got 8, along with Matthew Stafford. How about this? 0 losses for those guys in those situations. That's pretty damn clutch. Josh Allen's only had 3, but he's got 2 losses. Aaron Rodgers, 5 multiple game-winning drives and 2 losses in those situations. So compared to his peers, if you're just looking at it, Patrick Mahomes is among the best. If you just go and like I said, if you want to look at the total game-winning drives in his career, he's had 22, and 7 of those have been multiple game-winning drives. And like I said, he's got 1 loss on that resume. But some of the old guys, Russell Wilson, Matt Stafford, in that conversation too, Derek Carr in that conversation, they've had 8, but think about how long they've been playing. When those guys have been in the league forever. Aaron Rodgers been in the league forever. Patrick Mahomes has got 7 of them already. So he and actually Dak Prescott, I imagine, are at a really good pace considering they're still in the prime of their careers. Russell Wilson toward the end of his career. Matt Stafford, older. I don't know if he's at the end of his career, but older. Obviously, Derek Carr toward the end of his career too. So those guys who have the most multiple game-winning drive opportunities, they just have had so much longevity in the league. Patrick Mahomes, he's still in his prime. And it goes to show you, once again, no lead is safe. Even if your quarterback proves to be just as clutch and they're able to counter and combat his clutch gene and he has a game-winning drive, then your quarterback comes back, I got my own game-winning drive. That dude may come back again and with his own game-winning drive, a second one. He does that kind of stuff. And like I said, you got to give Dak a little credit. I didn't expect Dak to be so high on this list with multiple game-winning drives in his career. Now,
Yeah.
He is not in the playoffs like Patrick Mahomes.
No,
Patrick
Mahomes
Mahomes are in the Super Bowl, so that's a little bit different.
No,
he's got 2 of these in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, Mahomes is the guy that not only do you have to score the game-winning drive, you have to do it with no time on the clock.
Yep.
Yeah, you have
exactly
to time it out perfectly too. You can't just throw a bomb and get the score and then there's still a minute and a half. Like that was the Tom Brady thing.
Yep.
Was if you leave a minute, you lost.
It's too much time. Too much time.
Well, if you left a minute and it's only 6 points, so the game's over. You lost.
Too much time. No, I'm with you. That's exactly right. It'd be too much time. And that's basically what this stat kind of proves is that he's capable. You can't celebrate too soon. You can't exhale against Patrick Mahomes and go, all right, because Brock Purdy did that in the Super Bowl. I was there. I watched it. And I thought to myself, I remember thinking so many times, 49ers, y'all got this. I know you got this, baby. Woo. I remember thinking literally multiple times, you got this. And I shouldn't even thought that. Because I picked the Chiefs. I said, I'll never pick against Patrick Mahomes. You can't do it. It's just stupid. It's not smart. It's like picking against Brady and Belichick back in the day. It's just not smart. I'll be on the winning side most of the time if I pick Patrick. And I did, but I was rooting and praying that my boy Shano would win a Super Bowl. Only playoff game in NFL history where a team had 3 go-ahead drives in the fourth quarter and overtime and still lost.
You were just looking at the fat lady and like, why are you not singing yet?
I know. Why are you still eating your buffalo wings? Like, what is happening here?
Start singing.
It never happened. I was saying, so let's compare him to some all-time greats here. Because it basically points out Patrick Mahomes, if you look at his record among active starters, he has the best record among active starters with fourth quarter comebacks and game-winning drive opportunities, 2019, which we pointed out earlier. But multiple game-winning drives. So he doesn't have the best record, but he's on the best pace considering. And I would say that he does because a lot of the other players like Matt Stafford and even Dak Prescott too that are on his pace, or even some of the older guys like Russell Wilson and Derek Carr, not only they've played longer than Patrick Mahomes, so they're out of their prime window, but he's done it because this was playoff games and regular season games. He's done it in playoff games and in Super Bowls. And those other guys just haven't done it in those situations, not as much as he has because he's been to multiple. So he's been down double digits in 2 of his in all of them that he's won, basically.
That's crazy,
right? Like how does that happen? That's not supposed to happen. Like that's how hard he is to really vanquish. Okay, so here's compared to Brady, because he's got Brady on here. Let's get to the comparison to the all-time greats. Actually, the leader, if you're looking at multiple game-winning drives, is actually Ben Roethlisberger is really high on there. 12 multiple game-winning drives in his career, only 2 losses. That's pretty damn impressive. Tom Brady with 9 such instances, multiple game-winning drive opportunities in a game, and he's got 2 losses too. I mean, he's the GOAT for a reason. Hey, Warren Moon, 9 multiple game-winning drive opportunities and 0 losses. It's pretty good for Warren Moon.
Pretty good for the Oilers.
It's pretty
0
good for
losses
Oilers.
is always surprising.
Yeah, didn't have enough in the playoffs. I can tell you that. Tony Romo, 5 multiple game-winning drive opportunities and 0 losses for Tony Romo too. But think how few these. Think how long these guys played. Like Joe Montana, he got 3. Now a lot of this is not being from behind. I don't know if the 49ers, Joe Montana's 49ers actually played from behind a lot either. Multiple game-winning drives or being in tight games, a big part of that. But Joe Montana, 3 multiple game-winning drive opportunities and 1 loss. So it's just, hell, John Elway, 2 multiple game-winning drives and 0 losses based on this study. Troy Aikman, like I said, sometimes based on kind of the dominance, 2 multiple game-winning drives, opportunities, and 0 losses. I think they were just dominant dynasties, and they just didn't see a lot of, tight games and a lot of clutch opportunities. John Elway, like I said, he's got 2 game-winning drive opportunities and 0 losses. So I think that may be more reflective on it. And we say we want about Tom Brady, but Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes too, they've been in really competitive Super Bowls. The Super Bowls have been so competitive lately and they have been so many and dominated that they've had opportunities to show off their clutch gene and show how clutch they are, and they have not disappointed. So there you go. I mean, that even comparing Mahomes to some of the all-time greats, he's probably going to catch them pretty soon too, and he'll surpass them as well. He may go down if you're just looking at comparison to all-time greats. Like, I'm not going to look at every QB because I don't think we can break that down. But if you just look at the all-time greats, and he's gonna obviously be in that category pretty soon if he's not already there, and just comparing him to his peers, he's just on a faster pace to have more multiple game-winning drive wins and multiple game-winning drive opportunities, and that's because the Chiefs are really good, and the Chiefs are never out of it. No matter how many scores you're up by, you're up double digits, they're always still in it. Like I said, Tom Brady 5-8 in the playoffs when he's down by double digits. Patrick Mahomes, and it's rare. He's the only quarterback that I counted that has a winning record when down double digits in the playoffs. He's 5-2, and this in the Super Bowl, he's been down double digits 3 times in the Super Bowl, and is 2-1 in those situations. That's why his is a little different, because his happened in, like I said, on the biggest of stages. But there you go. That's the deeper dive into the clutch gene. Which quarterback won't be denied, even after your quarterback has displayed the clutch gene. They're even more clutch. That's kind of what I look at that when I look at the multiple game winning drives. All right, we come back. We'll have more stats. I got more stats and what the facts on the other side right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Beavers coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time for what the facts, what the stats. Got a couple of these, couple of NFL stats for you to share. How about this one? Chris Jones, considered the best D tackle right now in the NFL. He has 3 seasons with 10 plus sacks in his career. The only D tackles with more in their NFL careers: John Randall, 9 seasons with 10 plus sacks. Aaron Donald, 6 seasons with 10 plus sacks, and Warren Sapp, 4 seasons with 10 plus sacks. That's it. And Chris Jones this year will probably pick up right where he left off last year. Now he's got his big deal. So I always say about Kansas City. Kansas City is loaded because they have the best at certain positions all around the league, like the best QB, best D tackle now in the league, best tight end in the league. And like it's really not even up for debate with those 3 positions. And the best play caller, best defensive coordinator, um, best GM maybe in Brett Veach. That's the one that's probably up for debate. Best GM. But Andy Reid right now is considered best head coach in the NFL too. So a lot of best going on for the Kansas City Chiefs, which is why they're working on their third their three-peat, third in a row. All right, well, another factoid here for you. This is actually not a good factoid. Xavier Worthy missed Monday's practice with an illness. We were just talking about him yesterday because that video went viral of him catching that 60-yard bomb from Patrick Mahomes, but he missed workouts on Monday. I was looking for updates, but so there were no highlight reel plays for the Chiefs' first round pick from Monday's practice. Worthy went viral for hooking up with Patrick Mahomes, but the wideout was not on the field Monday because of some type of illness. So, but it's nothing serious. But he just didn't practice yesterday. That was a story that came out of Kansas City. Another factoid here for you. Since we're talking about what the facts, what the stats. How about this one? 57% of the league's scoring plays were touchdowns last year in the NFL. That was the lowest number since 2017. Going back to some of the other stats reflecting the offensive decline that the NFL is concerned about, that is part of it. The NFL wants more touchdowns. They're hoping this new kickoff return rule is actually going to spark more scoring. You'll have better field position to start off with, and they just believe more teams are going to be able to have more returns for touchdowns. That's part of their hope this season. But they know they got to do other things too to help try to spark more offense and generate more offense. So don't be surprised, the NFL, after this season, there's some other subtle tweaks to try to help offenses. They're a little bit concerned that it's now been about 3 or 4 years in a row where we've seen offense decline, and probably not enough for you to recognize eye test because the games are still really competitive. So that's why they're still the number one TV product in America. But the NFL, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, is usually their mentality. And it ain't really broke, but they pay attention to everything, including why is the scoring down. They want the scoring to be up along with the ratings, and the product to be competitive, and it to be continue to grow the revenue. So trust me, offense. That's what the NFL is paying attention to on the sly right now. It's one of their problematic areas. All right, we'll come back. We'll get into some more NFL discussion. There are a lot of NFL contract discussions, negotiations happening around the league, and they will all affect the Dallas Cowboys because the Cowboys have some big time players that they need to sign, including Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. We'll get into that a little bit. We'll also talk about Team USA, the men's Team USA, with another tight game, this time against Germany, with another tight win. We'll tell you what's on the line for Team USA. We'll also get into Texas football conversation, go behind the burnt orange curtain, talk about the latest Heisman odds, where Quinn is ranked, all of that and more coming up right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a top of the charts Tuesday. That's when my co-host, the Idealionaire Patrick Davis, he plays jams that reach the top of the Billboard charts on this day in history. We appreciate him on a top of the charts Tuesday. We appreciate him for all the musically themed days of the week. Also, he comes up with the topic for the big fat poll of the day, which we'll make sure that, as a matter of fact, it's already there posted for you at the Horn. Go to the Horn ATX on the X platform, and you can check it out there. Patrick, let the people know what the topic is for the big fat poll of the day.
Big fat poll of the day. Which Longhorn who didn't make the first team all SEC in the preseason media poll has the best chance to make that list? Right now, Quinn Ewers running away with it.
Yeah, that's interesting, actually. That is because it's only one spot, so their assumption is Quinn Ewers is going to be the best quarterback in the SEC.
Yeah, a little bit of Quinn Ewers love there. I was not expecting, wasn't expecting.
Well, I can tell you it could easily happen that Quinn could be the best quarterback in the SEC. If that is the case, then I'm assuming that means you maybe beat Georgia in the face-off with Carson Beck in the straight-up quarterback deal with Carson Beck. Right? I would think so if you're going to be considered the best quarterback in the SEC. And also, that means he's in New York.
Yeah.
If you're the best quarterback in the SEC, there's a good chance you're going to be in New York City for the Heisman.
Yeah.
Unless there's just a crazy, wild, wacky year in the SEC. Listen, I think Quinn is definitely going to be a first-round pick. I think Quinn has the potential to be drafted number 1 overall. He'd have to make a leap this year. What did Matt Miller have him? I think Matt Miller had him in like the top 20. He's on top 15.
Like 10 to 12, somewhere in that range.
Like
I think
10 to 12, somewhere around there. Yeah, I think he had Kelvin Banks at number 5 or something.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken. And he had Quinn at 10. Maybe Quinn was at 10 in that, if I'm not mistaken. So either way, he's got him. Most people have Quinn somewhere to be in a top 10 pick, back of the top 10 there somewhere, or between 10 and 20. Right, somewhere in the middle part of the first round right now. And we know that teams they'll take a chance on a quarterback, or they'll at least look past the liabilities in their skill set. They'll look past the downside and look more at the upside, and they won't even see the downside. And I don't think Quinn has that much of a downside. I think he's got way more upside. So yeah, I mean, they won't. It basically, he's only one guy that is better or is considered better than Quinn in the SEC, and that's Carson Beck. He's also the same guy that's got better Heisman odds, and the same guy that's considered, and maybe he and Shedeur considered better draft prospects than Quinn right now.
Yeah. Yeah, and Shedeur's got a different world ahead of him too. Like that whole thing playing out. There's 2 parts of it. One is, of course, it's the new offensive line, a whole bunch of new teammates. Does it work out? If it was a 4-win team last year, new play caller, if they don't have a winning record, it feels hard to make him the top pick or one of the top 2 picks. They have a losing record, right? If he basically 2 years in Power 5 or Power 4 football, and he has losing records in both seasons, it feels hard to make him that number 1 pick. And the other thing is, we know from being in the Big 12, there's a lot of different innovative defenses in the Big 12 that he didn't necessarily see in the Pac-10.
That's true.
The Pac-12 that he didn't see over there. So that's I mean, how he's going to deal with TCU and Mike Gundy and Oklahoma State and Iowa State.
I don't know if they. I got to look at their schedule to see if they even play Iowa State. I'm not sure they play them, but
but like how he's going to deal with those different defenses that are coming over. It's just going to be an interesting transition. The same it's going to be for Quinn though. Quinn's got to learn new defenses too.
Yeah, and these are considered the best in the country.
There.
So I've gone over what Quinn needs to do to take the leap to surpass Shedeur Sanders and surpass Carson Beck and be considered the top quarterback in this draft class, and to get to New York City and to be, a quarterback that can lead Texas to a national title. That's the expectation and the hope this year, that he's going to be that good. So here's the schedule for Shedeur. They play K-State. K-State runs a lot of those creative defensive concepts we talked about. So they'll play K-State. They play Arizona, Cincinnati, Baylor, UCF, Texas Tech, Utah, Kansas, and Oklahoma State. So they do miss Iowa State, which will run one of the more creative defenses that I guarantee Shedeur Sanders will see. I love me some John Haycock. He's one of the best defensive minds in college football. And Oklahoma State, they run some really creative things defensively too. So I'm with you. That's a great point about Shedeur Sanders. He'll be tested, but so will Quinn. I actually think Quinn, and this is something that I want to say it was Jackson Dart talked about it. Quinn referenced it too at SEC Media Days. You see more drop 8 coverages and disguise coverages in the Big 12. A lot more drop 8, rush 3, and they err on the side of win the numbers advantage in the passing game, and win one-on-one matchups in the run game or rally to the run game. That's a lot of what the NFL does. I mean, NFL doing a lot of putting canopies over the defense with 2 high safeties. And they're playing more zone coverage. So philosophically, that's kind of what they're doing. The SEC is way more aggressive. The SEC is going to play more man coverage. They're probably going to blitz more in the SEC and not simulated pressures like you get a lot in the Big 12. You get some teams blitzing, but it's a lot of simulated pressures too. You're just going to get straight up blitzing. Them sending 5 or more guys, playing man-to-man coverage on the back of that. And even Jackson Dart talked about it, and Quinn, that they expect SEC defense to just be more aggressive. It's a line of scrimmage league. So they believe that they ultimately can dictate terms and dictate matchups up front. And you can do that when you blitz, and you can outnumber the offense at the point of attack, and then you can force matchups, right? You can force offensive lines to have to adjust, and you can force them to have to shade one way, or you can force and manipulate different matchups in that way. So I think that's kind of what Quinn's got to deal with, and how Quinn deals with pressure. We talked about that. That's a big part of it. We'll talk about it a little bit more when we go behind the Burnham's curtain. Quinn's got to learn how to deal with pressure better. His sack to pressure numbers, or pressure to sack numbers, are inconsistent. That's the best way to put it. And I think they want to see some consistent. They believe they call it a sticky stat. Sticky stat mean it translates from college to the NFL. Like, it's sticky. It sticks with you. All right, from the college to the NFL. And they think pressure to sack numbers are a sticky stat. And so he needs to watch that. I've been talking about this for like a year, and now you're starting to see a lot more of the evaluations bring it up too, that they want to see how he handles the pressure, and they want to see him be able to, and even Sark talks about this, they get deeper into the progressions, faster into the progressions. And to do that, you have to feel pressure and not see it, because when you see it, you're definitely not going to get deep into your progressions, because you're looking at the pressure instead of looking downfield at the route combinations. So that's something I think scouts want to see, and that'll take Quinn's game to a whole nother level. And now you can talk to Sark in the headset too, which also will be an added dimension that I think can help Quinn and his development. All right, let's get to the headlines first, and then we'll come back and discuss some of the NFL news, notes, and nuggets, some of the contract negotiations around the league. But first, let's get updated, educated, and informed on all the top stories of the day with Patrick Davis and the Horn Headlines.
All right, your Horn Headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. Team USA outlasted Germany yesterday in their final exhibition game before Paris, 92-88. The win pushed USA's record in their exhibition games to 5-0. LeBron James once again took over in the final minutes to secure the win for USA as he finished with a team-leading 20 points. Joel Embiid had his best performance so far, finishing with 15 points and 8 rebounds. Team USA now waits for their first game of the Olympic play against Serbia on Sunday morning. In the MLB, the Astros dropped the opening game in their series to the A's 4-0. While the Astros were able to get 8 hits out of the game, they couldn't get things done with runners in scoring position and get shut out for only the 4th time this season. Spencer Arrighetti made it through 6 innings but allowed all 4 runs in the first 4 and picks up his 8th loss. Jake Bloss will get his 3rd career start tonight as Houston looks to even the series. And the Rangers picked up an extra innings win yesterday with Wyatt Langford walk-off single in the 10th inning with bases loaded. Michael Lorenzen pitched 5 innings, allowing 2 runs and striking out 8, but left the game while it was still tied 2-2. Kirby Yates allowed a 9th inning solo homer to Paul DeJong, but Jonah Heim was able to get a run home with 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th to extend the game. John Gray gets a call to start tomorrow in Game 2 of their series with the White Sox, and that's the Horn Headlines.
All right, welcome back. Thank you for the horn headlines, Patrick. We appreciate those. I want to get to this Jordan Love story because I think this is going to help Dak and give him more leverage potentially in their contract negotiations, or at least in his contract negotiations with the Cowboys. And the Cowboys have already stayed, or at least the Watkins report from this weekend has stated the Cowboys are going to prioritize CD Lamb, so get the CD Lamb deal done, and then they're going to focus on the Dak deal. So there'll be some time, and in that time, you may see another quarterback pretty much shift the QB market, and that could be Jordan Love. Now, Jordan Love is holding in instead of holding out, so I applaud him there. Perfect situation for him to hold in, by the way, and the difference is hold in, you go to the facilities, but you don't do anything. You don't lift really, you don't practice, you just go there so that the team knows you want to be around the team, but until you get paid, until you sign a new deal, you are not going to practice, and you certainly are not going to play in any preseason games. But it could be awkward, but I think for the Green Bay Packers, considering the unique ownership model they have where the fans actually own the team and they're the ones that are out there at training camp, and it's such a small community, and the football team is actually the community, not just a football team in a major city. Like, it's the Green Bay Packers are probably more synonymous with that town than any other thing, period. So in that unique situation, I think the hold in actually is a perfect, almost ideal strategy and tactic by Jordan Love. So he is there, but he is not practicing, and they feel like they're close. That's what Brian Gutekunst, the GM, says. He says, "I feel like we're close." To me, that means they must have the dollar figure worked out. They feel like they're close, and now they're working out details about the length of the contract, potentially, maybe the amount of guaranteed money in the contract. Patrick, you brought up the no trade clauses and potentially some of the no franchise tag clauses that quarterbacks like Dak Prescott have put into their contracts. That could be one of the things that maybe holding things up if they feel like they're close. But I feel like we're close. To me, feels like they agreed on the dollar figure. And if they agreed on the dollar figure, I just wonder if it's Trevor Lawrence. They're like, can we agree that we're going to pay him like Trevor Lawrence? Like, okay, which will be a deal once Dak signs his new deal. You'll already start to, as a team, you'll start to look at that as a discounted rate almost, because at least you'll have your young quarterback locked up for the foreseeable future, and Dak's going to shift the quarterback market, and every other franchise quarterback after him will shift the market again, which I think Mahomes is going to shift it again pretty soon too. There's no way he's going to continue being the 9th or 10th highest paid QB or whatever he is going to be after Dak signs his deal.
Yeah, and I mean, you also say, with signing bonuses and those things of, all right, how much money, how much are we writing you a check for right now? Yep. Versus how much are you going to hold, can we pay you over this time? For a team like Green Bay, they probably would like that signing bonus to be a little bit lower, as they are not a billionaire.
Cash rich.
It's not just a billionaire who can sit back and say, here's a check. Cool. Help my salary cap and help all of the, So that could be an issue too, of just trying to make sure all those numbers are right. But yeah, I think, if they say it's close, the model's there. Once Trevor Lawrence got his deal, the model basically got put out. So you can say, it's 1 year that he has played as a starting quarterback. He won a playoff game. That's where you want to sit and push your future. If you're the Packers, you're trying to sign him for as long as you possibly can. You'd like to get a 5-year deal, something like that, so you can, get the value on the back end of it at least.
Yeah.
But I'm sure, that's Jordan Love's people know too. Well, we want to renegotiate when we think the market's going to blow up even more and more, because, you're going to, if you add that 18th game, that means there's more money. And if you add, you get another television rights deal, or you add more streaming services or whatever else you add, it's going to be more and more money. So we don't want to go too long. So there's a lot of pieces that it could be, but yeah, it all sets up that I can't imagine this is going to last 2 weeks more. I would imagine it's done before we get to their first preseason game. I would assume Jordan Love has already got a contract. And
I agree with that. Yeah.
But
the number is what, 50, is it between 53 and 55 million? What we're talking about here?
Yeah.
Right. somewhere around there.
Yeah.
He could get 53. It could go Jared Goff. That's where he's at. And then, but Trevor Lawrence, I think he pretty much might have set a new kind of bar for quarterbacks who haven't had the playoff success or haven't had, the statistical achievement or accolades. And for him to get that, but what Jordan Love has played with basically one good season, not even a whole good season. It was like a half of a good season.
Yeah.
But he was spectacular toward the end. I mean, second in the NFL in passing touchdowns. He was 7th in passing yards. And we know how he just sliced up the Dallas Cowboys. And that was one of the better defense. So he's trending in the right direction and ascending. I just wonder if he gets $55 million, I mean, Dak is going to be just salivating, just licking his chops.
Yeah. And I think Dak's
going to get 60.
I can't imagine Dak's going to sign before that either.
No, because the CD deal's still taking some time.
Yeah.
It's going to take a little while. And it seems like they're close on this deal and they want it to get done. Because he's not practicing. That's you want Dak's gonna practice. There's no talk that Dak is holding in or holding out. This young man is holding in. So it's different. And you talked about it too. I mean, you need your quarterback during training camp. I mean, it all revolves around your QB. Nobody wants their backup quarterback.
Well, no, and the biggest difference between Dak and everyone else is that no franchise tag clause. Because everyone else, if they're playing on the last year of their contract, they know you can screw me in the offseason and franchise tag me and basically get 2 seasons out of me for nothing, for less than I want to make, and with no guarantees that if I get hurt or have a bad season, they're just going to let me go and it's over. I want that guaranteed money, so that's why he's holding out. It's because he doesn't want to get to that period. Dak Prescott says, I'm fine. I know what I have. I know what I can go, and I know I can make Kirk Cousins money if I walk away. So at the end of the day, I want to stay here, but I'm not as worried about it because you can't franchise tag me. I hold all the leverage. At the end of the season, if you don't pay me, there is absolutely nothing tethering me to the Dallas Cowboys anymore, and I can walk out the door. And you can't stop me.
And still cost him $40 million.
And you're still paying me.
You still got his dead cap number would be $41 million.
Yeah.
Even if he walks out the door.
And so I get why for Dak it's just a different. I don't care. Because honestly, I'm working to show that you're going to pay me, or I'm working to show the next team that's going to pay me. But either way, I'm getting paid.
Oh yeah, that's getting paid.
And for Jordan Love, he knows he can go out and he make something on the market, but it would be 2 more seasons before he does.
And he needs to, I'm with you. And he needs to understand, the Packers model, which had made them the most consistent quarterback model in the NFL. Nobody does it as well as the Packers. They've gone from Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers now successfully to Jordan Love and haven't had to rebuild in those situations because they are very proactive in the way they approach the quarterback position. And they have a tried and true method now. And he needs to understand that in 5 years, 6 years or so, they're going to start looking for another franchise quarterback. Like that's just the way the Packers operate. And it's brilliant. I applaud them. Nobody in the NFL wants to follow that model. You see the Atlanta Falcons trying to do something similar, but they're still not they're kind of extreme in their method. The Packers method makes perfect sense. It just makes people uncomfortable, but it makes perfect. People hated Brian Gutekunst when he basically was ushering Aaron Rodgers out the door to help bring up a young Jordan Love. But he was just executing their blueprints, which is what they've done before. And turns out now he looks like a genius. Because I think we all agree Aaron Rodgers was, starting to fade. And I'm not saying Aaron Rodgers still won't be a good quarterback for the Jets, but I think we all agree he's at the end of his career, and he was starting to become more and more toxic to that organization. And Green Bay, they don't really like to deal with toxicity like that. Green Bay and like the Pittsburgh Steelers, those are organizations that, they got way too much an air of. There's almost kind of this air of elitism with them, a superiority with those types of organizations that have been around excellence for so long. So they don't like the toxic, salacious stuff.
They don't want to deal with, hey, man, just FaceTime me.
Yes, exactly, right? And remember when Brett started getting like that, Brett had to go. Brett got like that too. Brett was retiring and coming out of retirement. Hey, look at me. It was like, okay. And Brett's like, they got him on the tarmac, getting off his private jet. So it's like, okay, this is all right. Might be time for you to move on to it. And they moved on to a young, humble Aaron Rodgers, I guess. Well, he was, I don't know, he's ever humble. He was more humble than he is today. And so Jordan Love, probably in 5 or 6 years, he probably will be a celebrity quarterback by then too. And they'll be ready to move on to a younger, cheaper, discounted franchise quarterback. Yeah. But he should understand that's the way they operate. So to your point, Patrick, about putting in things to protect yourself, they should be certainly putting in those things to protect him, because the Packers, they're going to be looking for the replacement for Jordan Love in 6 years. I love that model, though. I really do. And they got Brett Favre via trade. So they're just about acquiring quarterbacks. They've drafted, I think, 11 quarterbacks since 1999. Ron Wolf, famously, the Hall of Fame GM for the Packers, said, I will draft a quarterback every year. If they let me, they won't let me. So he drafted one basically every other year. And that's been their model for the last 2 decades. And I think it's one that has offered them stability and longevity, actually, with their quarterbacks too. They like them to sit. Most people want their quarterbacks to play right away. They're like, no, sit. We'll pay you, sit. It's not as cost effective as it used to be. It used to be very cost effective because you would get that new starting quarterback on a discounted contract. But now with the precedent of paying every franchise quarterback top dollar, top market value, it's not cost effective anymore. It's still a really good organization, healthy organizational habit to have. And like I said, they have the best quarterback model going right now in the last 2 decades of the NFL. Everybody else is pretty much throwing blanket at the wall and seeing if it sticks. And they are the only ones who've come up with this methodology that seems to have a higher success rate. And everybody else has got to deal with, pretty much a 25% success rate, hit rate on quarterbacks that they draft and bring in. But I think it's still going to cost them now. Today's price is not yesterday's price.
And I will say, so we may be overstating a little bit of how soon they'll be looking for Jordan Love's replacement. Just looking at Aaron Rodgers and they both got replacements look for about 35. They're about 35 years old. So that's 10 years down the road from Jordan Love, who's 25. But they both left the team around 37, 38 years old is when they left the Packers. Okay. So they were drafted the replacements around 35, which makes sense. That's a aging quarterback, but both those guys were also headed to the Hall of Fame. So it's a little bit easier. So if Jordan Love starts to set himself up in that path, then he'll get more time. If he doesn't, they'll be looking sooner rather than later.
Yeah, that's kind of my thing. I think it might be a little sooner. I don't know if he's going to be hard, because those guys are Hall of Famers. Remember my rule of 3.
Yes.
It's really hard in any sport, in any position, even manager or head coach, to have 3 Hall of Famers in a row. Right? The Pittsburgh Steelers did it with their head coaches, but other than that, it's really tough. You talked about who's the college basketball coach program you brought up?
Oh, Kansas with Larry Brown, Bill Roy Williams, and Bill Self.
Yep, Kansas done it really good. But think about when Texas tried to do it with Coach Pierce, didn't work out.
Yeah,
he was good. He wasn't Hall of Fame. Think about Oklahoma. People thought that Lincoln Riley was going to be it. Well, Lincoln Riley looked like that at Oklahoma, but they left Oklahoma and he don't look like a Hall of Fame coach anymore.
Nope. And
I don't know if Brent Venom was going to be. It's really tough to get 3 Hall of Famers in a row. So my rule of 3 is why I think they'll be looking for a quarterback sooner. I think he'll work. I think he'll be good and really good. But will he be a Hall of Fame quarterback? And I think once they realize, he's ain't a Hall of Fame quarterback. Okay, so maybe we don't want to pay him for the 3rd big time contract. Maybe we don't want to do that.
Yeah. So basically, if he signs a 4 to 5 year deal, he'll basically be in the position Dak is in right now. Dak is 30 years old, looking for that new contract. Jordan Love's 25. So if he gets a 5-year deal, he'll be 30, looking for another contract.
Yeah.
And it's
right. So maybe they do sign that other, because how many contracts did Aaron Rodgers?
Because Dak's also different, because Dak only was a 4th round draft pick, so his contract wasn't as long as a 1st round pick.
Yeah, and he started a little bit lower. Yeah, that's a good question. I wonder how many contracts Brett and Aaron Rodgers ended up signing. So they signed, but they were already on a Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and there was also a way different contract structure at that point than it is now.
Very
too.
True. Yeah, no, it probably won't be 6. It'll probably be maybe 7, 8, but they're gonna start looking. So just be aware of that if you're negotiating his deal. That all right, just make sure I wonder, because the organization probably wants a longer deal. He wants a shorter deal to get back on free agency. And I wonder if they want to try to get him. I mean, nobody's going Patrick Mahomes in 10 years. But I wonder if the Packers will try to get him in for 5 to a 6-year deal, something like that.
No, I think if you're the Packers, you would love to get like a
option.
7-year deal.
Yes,
and then
exactly.
Run him like 32. And when he's 30, you either decide at 30, we're drafting another quarterback and he's gone in 2 years and we're fine with that. Or we start working and we restructure his deal and get him till he's 35, and then we'll find a new guy then and replace him then. But I think they would like a little bit longer, or maybe they don't have the faith in Jordan Love and they want a 3-year deal. Who knows?
I think they got faith in him though.
I think they do.
I think they got faith in the young man. I think they like.
They stood fast when there was all the reports that he was not going to be able to do it, and they should get rid of him now, and it was a bust pick and all of that. And all those reports that had come out before he even started. Mm-hmm. And then when he started this season, it wasn't gangbusters to start off. Then there was reports that this is not working out, and they may already move on from Jordan Love, and clearly that's not the case.
And then he struggled a little bit to start the season.
Yeah,
it didn't look especially sharp to start the season. It was a second half of the season where he really was playing like a top 10 quarterback in the league. And then we saw that. With the Dallas Cowboys, we saw him play maybe the best football of the season the playoffs against the Cowboys, against a really good defense, by the way. That was not a bad defense.
But that was also they ran the ball a lot, and that was the Achilles heel for the Cowboys, and the Packers knew it and had 2 running backs who could take care of it, and Aaron Jones just cut them up.
It was a really good game plan. It was a damn good game plan. So Jordan Love looks like that deal may be coming. And like I said, he won't get more than $55 million, but he could get 55. They could decide, you know what, 55, it's a lot now, but trust me, in 2 years, it'll be cheap. Yeah. Patrick Mahomes it's amazing. He's like 9th highest paid quarterback in the league right now. At one point, I got to think that that's going to change too. I just don't know when that's going to change. I don't know if it'll be this offseason, but he's going to reset the quarterback market at one point when they restructure that deal. There's no way he's going to drop out of the top 10. That should be in your contract. But he's going to drop out of the top 10, guys, if this deal gets done and Dak's deal gets done, Patrick Mahomes will be outside the top 10. Is there any sport where the best player in the league is a veteran and outside the top 10 and the highest paid players in this position? In any sport?
I mean, I can't imagine. I don't know.
There's no way. Now, rookies, it happens when he's a rookie and on a rookie deal and still the best player. That happens.
You could technically say, Tani's not making top 10 money this season. He's going to make it on the back end.
Yeah, that's what he structured that because he wanted to be savvy and give the middle finger to Uncle Sam and get some tax breaks. So that was brilliant on his part. But yeah, I guess Patrick Mahomes did sign that 10-year deal. He knew what he was doing. I mean, somebody probably tell him like, bro, that's a 10-year deal. That's a very team-friendly deal. And because he had the Tim Duncan, Tom Brady attitude where I want the organization to have more money so that they can build us a championship team. And at first, I questioned because they were not spending any of that money. They let Tyreek Hill go. They weren't paying Travis Kelce. They weren't paying Andy Reid. They weren't paying any damn body. Now they've paid. They weren't paying Chris Jones at the time. Now they paid Chris Jones. They just paid Travis Kelce. They just paid Andy Reid. Just paid Spagnuolo. Now, second Super Bowl, everybody got paid. So they're paying everybody now with that extra money they get from Patrick Mahomes' discount deal. But if he drops out of the top 10, guys, the Kansas City Chiefs should go to him and go, man, we don't want to disrespect you like this, bro. We can't do that. You're the best. You're the best player at your position. The distance between you and the number 2 quarterback in this league is probably a wider distance between number 2 and number 10 in this league. Like, that's how good you are. We can't allow you to be disrespected to be outside the top 10. Come on, man. We can't have Kirk Cousins in the same range with you. That's what's happening right now. No, Kirk Cousins makes the same basically as Patrick Mahomes. I'm not making that up.
No, you're 100% right. And we can't
have that, man.
Look, Daniel Jones is going to get a deal close to you. We can't have this.
I'm saying when is Patrick? Because Patrick Mahomes signed a 10-year deal, Josh, so they don't have to do anything for a while. They got a lot. They don't really have. Now, it would be common courtesy and it'd be respectful for, like, say he drops out of the top 10 for you to go, okay, hey, Patrick, we need to work on the deal. Or at least tell his agent, hey, we'd like to talk about a deal. We don't want Patrick outside the top 10. That ain't cool. But they do have very cheap owners. We know this.
Yes.
Even the players themselves are talking about how cheap and bad the ownership is. So they are kind of cheap. So I don't know. I think that's it. And then they got to deal with CJ Stroud if they wait too long. CJ Stroud, he has a year anything close to what he had. Texans, they'll be happy to do it, but they're going to he's going to set the market. He's going, if Dak gets 60, I think you're talking about CJ Stroud making $65 million a year.
Yeah.
Right? Because, if Dak's going to make 60 now, CJ has any year close to what he had his rookie year, and the quarterback market's going to get pushed up easily another $5 million in another year. He's going to make $65 million. I know it sounds crazy. It could be close to a $70 million range depending on what happens with Patrick Mahomes. Because Patrick Mahomes is going to set the market, and he's going to be the top dog whenever that happens. And then after that, CJ, depending on if they go to the playoffs again, if they do, he's gonna be the second highest paid quarterback in the league, behind Patrick Mahomes.
Crazy.
Whenever Patrick Mahomes would be paid, I still can't believe that he's now. I can't believe they got a humble superstar. They got one. It's like with Spurs when they got Tim Duncan, and they are a humble, unselfish with Tom Brady.
The Knicks just did it with Brunson now.
Yes, he did it. Yes, he
Knicks,
did. Right.
Brunson
he took
just
less.
took the $100 million less.
And it's like, what? Oh, you got one of those? Damn. You get one of those. That's your best player. You got some good things happening. You might be on the yellow brick road headed to the aisles, man. That's right there. That's a secret sauce that you really can't quantify how much that means. All right, we come back. We'll get into Texas football conversation, go behind the burn orange curtain. We talked about Quinn Ewers. A lot of you guys excited. I think Quinn Ewers actually will make the leap from being second team preseason all SEC to being first team. We'll talk about what he has to do to get to New York and all what he's got to do to get on the first team all SEC team by the end of the season. All that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis coming back on the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis here. Let me tell you about Dr. Eckert and his wonderful team. Right now, Dr. Eckert and his wonderful team are doing amazing work over there. People ask me if I know a good dentist. I say, no, I don't know a good dentist. I know a great dentist. I know the best dentist in Austin. That's Dr. Greg Eckert. And for many reasons, right? And I owe them a huge debt of gratitude. I went there initially for teeth cleaning, just a routine checkup. During that checkup, they found that all of my wisdom teeth were actually growing in sideways. Oh, yeah. It was on the verge of being extremely problematic for me. So they acted swiftly, made sure that I was informed and comfortable with the entire process, got everything done, got me scheduled. The procedure was done. I was back at work within a couple of days, as you guys know, and my dental health and dental hygiene have never been better. And since I've been back for fillings and for cleanings, and now thanks to Dr. Eckert and his team, my dental health and dental hygiene are one of my top priorities, and they can help you no matter what your issues. Hopefully it's not something as serious as having all your wisdom teeth removed. Hopefully it's something routine and something pretty pain and stress-free, like just getting your teeth cleaned, or just a routine checkup. No matter what it is, general dentistry, teeth whitening, porcelain crowns, veneers, dental implants, full mouth reconstruction, even root canal therapy, whatever it takes to ensure you're getting the best quality dental care available. That's what Dr. Eckert and his team are all about. And right now he has the ability to give you a brand new smile in just one day, permanently secured to your dental implants. No time spent without teeth. You'll get temporary fixtures until they complete your permanent smile, and you'll smile again with confidence and eat freely without pain or discomfort. It's a revolutionary alternative to dentures. So if you've been told your teeth need to be replaced, just call Dr. U today to learn about this revolutionary alternative. It's a complimentary consultation, so you got nothing to lose, but you're so much to gain, because a confident smile can truly change your life. And Dr. U will change your life for the better. So give him a call, 512-345-3166. That's 512-345-3166. Or visit drueckert.com, drueckert.com. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get to some Texas football conversation. We were just talking about Quinn Ewers because of the topic for the Big Fat Poll today, which we'll get back to that conversation. We can talk about him a little bit more here, because I was looking at some of the latest Heisman odds from DraftKings that came out. They have Dylan Gabriel plus 750 in the latest Heisman odds. Best odds to win the Heisman there at Oregon. Carson Beck is at plus 800, the quarterback from Georgia. Then they have Quinn Ewers at plus 1,000. He's the third best odds to win the Heisman this year, ahead of Jackson Dart at plus 1,400. Then there's Will Howard, now the new quarterback there at Ohio State, plus 1,500. Jalen Milroe, Alabama quarterback, at plus 1,500. Then the Tennessee quarterback, which I'm sure I'm going to screw up his name, Nico Iamaleava, he's at plus 1,800. Garrett Nussmeier plus 2,200 LSU, and then Cam Ward at also tied with plus 2,200. So you got a lot of SEC quarterbacks here. I mean, you got 6 of these 9 quarterbacks here are SEC QBs, and I didn't think the SEC was that rich in quarterback talent this year. But maybe I'm off about that based on these Heisman betting odds. I am off about that. Quinn at plus 1,000. I think Quinn should end up in New York this year. But I was wrong. I thought Bijan would end up in New York, and that was not the case. But this is Quinn's offense, right? I think it'll be a pass first offense. I think that the pass will set up the run, and I think Quinn will have more command and more freedom, more latitude, authority over the offense, because it is his 3rd year as a starter, so he should know it intimately. Also, Sark can speak to him now in the headset, with the headset communication being approved. I think that helps It helps everybody on offense, by the way. But I think it helps Quinn and Sark even more because they've been together and they've established right communication. They've established some continuity as a play caller and a quarterback. So that should help them more so than maybe Dylan Gabriel, who's a veteran quarterback, but him and his play caller have not established the bond and the communication that Quinn and Sark have. They can't because Quinn and Sark have been together for 3 years. So I think it helps them. It should be able to be very succinct and insightful, dropping tidbits of information, little hints and clues on things to watch for Quinn. I think that'll help Quinn too take his game to another level. But this is Quinn's team, so Quinn's gonna get all of the like V-Wall would say, you get all the girls, you get all the grief, but he's gonna get all the credit. I'm assuming credit because I think the team's going to be really good, but he'll get a lot of the credit for them being good this year, even if he necessarily is not the reason that they're winning, but he should be one of the big reasons. So I think they'll be pass first. I think you'll see more straight drop back from Quinn. I think you'll see more early down pass from Quinn. By the way, the NFL scouts, they want to see Quinn in more straight drop back situations because there's a lot of added elements that are advantageous to quarterbacks in the Sark offense. It's inundated with all these little cheat codes, lots of play action pass, lots of RPOs, lots of screen passes. That's about 65% of Sark's offense is those types of conceptual cheat codes and hacks, and which is great because it's quarterback friendly. But in the NFL, they want to see you can just be a straight drop back quarterback without the helpful helpful elements and cheat codes of the play action pass and the RPOs that in a third and long situation that this quarterback can drop back and in a 3rd and 10 when everybody knows they're going to throw, the defense is blitzing, their ears are pinned back, and the secondary is their coverages are geared on you being one dimensional, and you can still drop back and be able to make the throws, the vertical throws downfield and challenge the defense and throw into tight windows, extend plays, get through the progressions. And you don't see a lot of that from Quinn. You're going to see it this year. And you'll see it against SEC defenses. I think Sark's going to trust him more. And when you see it, you'll see it out of that 6 offensive line package because he'll insulate Quinn with a little bit more pass protection because one of the issues that Quinn's been dealing with and trying to get better at is how he handles pressure and his pressure to sack numbers, which are troubling, inconsistent. Maybe troubling is not the right. Inconsistent. Pressure to sack rate for Quinn in 2022, 13.9%. Great. In 2023, 25.2%. Not so great. Who is the real Quinn Ewers? That's what scouts want to know. In the SEC, will he see more pressure? Yeah, theoretically, he's going to see more pressure. It's a line of scrimmage league. The way that pressure is generated, I think, is going to change. You'll see more simulated pressures. You'll see more exotic hybrid schemes and hybrid players in the Big 12. So there's a chance that in the SEC, the pressure packages will be more simplistic, actually, for Quinn. Now, they may be more effective because you got better players. Execute them, but they may be more simplistic for him to be able to recognize them pre-snap and be able to process them post-snap. And as a 3-year veteran in his system, he should be really quick at that. But that's what the question is going to be. That's why that Michigan game is so big for Quinn. That Michigan game is so big for Quinn. If Quinn can handle that Michigan defense, best D tackle duo in college football, basically what T'Vondre Sweat and Byron Murphy were last year, just apply that to Michigan this year. That's what they have. They got a Byron Murphy and they got a T'Vondre Sweat. They got a guy that will be drafted in the top 15. They got a guy that will be drafted in the bottom of the first round or second round. That's how good they are. They had the best corner in college football for the last 2 years. And they got an NFL defensive coordinator, Wink Martindale, who's been as blitz and pressure happy as any defensive coordinator in the NFL over the last decade. And his stamp and fingerprints are all over the place in the NFL and at Michigan because they've been running his system basically since they had Mike McDonald there. They were running his system, and even before that, they were still when Mentor was there. They were running the same system. So that's going to be a big test for him because they're going to bring pressure, and they can hold up on the back end with the pressure. So he's going to have to sit there and make the throw, but also be able to navigate in the pocket to buy himself a little bit of time. Got to get through progressions quicker before the pressure gets there. You got to feel the pressure. You can't see it. If you're watching it, that means you're not keeping your eyes downfield to get through your progressions and see the route combinations, and see the way the defense is rotating. So that, to me, and he's going to get that second game of the season. So we'll know a lot about the progression of Quinn. My only concern would be, I think he can handle it, no doubt. My concern would be the chemistry that he has with the wide receivers. Will they have gelled by then? Because they haven't, and they still have, it's still clunky, and it's still a little, I think for a little clumsy, because it looked a little clumsy in the spring game. If you got some of that happening with Michigan in the passing game, that could be a concern. But I think Quinn's up to it. But how he handles pressure, his Pro Football Focus, their pressure to sack percentage for Quinn, 24% last year. 26% when not blitzed, 23.8% when blitzed. That's the number. His sack rate versus pressure, according to Sports Info Solutions, 33.8%. That's a really high number. So that is what Quinn's got to figure out, and what he's got to, I think, evolve with, is how he handles pressure. And like I said, I think the biggest thing is he sees it. He looks at it. He literally looks at it. And last year when he looked at it, he was better than he was potentially in 2022 because he just scrambled. He would just scramble, and he didn't get away every time, but he would look to scramble, and that's how he got out of the situation. And so that made it mitigated some of the damage of just sitting there and taking the sack and not getting the progressions and seeing the pressure, which he did in 2022, but he still had a better pressure to sack percentage in 2022. 2023, pressure to sack percentage, it actually increases, but I think his adaptation to it was to just scramble more, which he did. This year, teams will be ready for the scramble. He won't catch teams off guard scrambling. They'll be ready for that. And he's not a skilled dual threat guy by any stretch of the imagination. So he'll have to figure out how to buy time in the pocket, how to get through progressions a little bit quicker, and how to feel the pressure, not see it. And if he feels it, he'll stay in the pocket. If he sees it, he's going to bail out of the pocket like he did last year. And so, like I said, and I don't know if you can teach that. I will admit, even as a football theorist, I don't know if you can teach it. I don't know if it's something that's innate, that some guys have naturally and some guys don't. Patrick Mahomes, that's why they say it's a sticky stat, pressure to sack percentage, that it sticks with you from college to the pro. It translates, because there are some, scouts and evaluators that believe it's just natural. Some guys just avoid pressure better than others, and some guys don't. That make you a bad quarterback. There are other data points that will still add up to make you a good quarterback. But in terms of sack avoidance and feeling pressure, that feeling it is just something God-given. I can help you handle it better. I can put mechanisms within the offensive structure to help you handle it better. That's what they did with Tua. The ball comes out really quickly. We can do a quick passing game. I can put more RPOs in the offense. There's other things you can do if somebody doesn't feel pressure really well, because Quinn doesn't feel pressure really well. But I don't know if you can teach it. I don't know if you can teach it. You can improve on it. It can get better. But I think if you're elite in that aspect, you're kind of born with that as an innate sense, sixth sense. And I was talking to Coach Shipley about it. Coach Shipley says he doesn't know either. He was a coach forever. He's like, I don't know if you can teach that. Some guys just got it, and some guys just don't. All right, we come back. We'll get into Off the Record on the other side. Oh, I cannot wait to watch this on Netflix. All of that and more right here when we return on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers, coming back on the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Austin is a great city, even with the traffic. Still one of the best cities in the country. That's why it's one of the fastest growing cities in the country. People come here, they visit, and they figure out, how great it is, how awesome it is. They want to move here. And yes, that makes the traffic even worse. But also, that's why the city is growing and thriving. And also, one of the reasons it's growing and thriving is our friends over at Ironworkers Local 482. Many of the iconic landmarks we love in this city that we hold dear were actually built and constructed by the skilled craftsmanship of Ironworkers Local 482, like the Pennybacker Bridge and DK Stadium. The folks over at Ironworkers Local 42 don't just go to the office, they build it. So if you're looking for an exciting employment opportunity or a refreshing career change, or you want a new challenge, or you want to feel valued by your employer, you can become a valued member of this prestigious organization, Ironworkers Local 482. And right now is a great time to do it. They're hiring over 3,000 people for a huge project right here in Central Texas. They're offering competitive wages, competitive benefits, a pension plan. They even offer training for unskilled labor through their apprenticeship program. Right now is a great time to become a member of Ironworkers Local 42 and take pride in the type of teamwork and craftsmanship that help shape the future of our great city. So go online today and apply at ironworkers482.org. That's ironworkers482.org. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get into some off the record conversation here. I can't believe this is a thing, but they turned it around pretty quickly. So Netflix announced yesterday that they will be releasing a documentary centering around Michigan's football sign stealing scandal, and the documentary will feature Connor Stallions himself. Stallions was the scapegoat basically for the sign stealing scandal, which was a big salacious headline for Michigan during their national championship run last year. And it says now, less than a year after that all went down, Netflix will spotlight this scandal in their Untold series for this year in an episode called Sign Stealer, which will first hit screens August 27th. Good timing, right before the first games of college football season. And it will star Connor Stallions himself explaining his side of the story. How about that? In a tweet announcing several episodes of Untold, Sign Stealer being one of them. And it said that basically Connor Stallions is going to give you his side. Now, I got a lot of questions. And by the way, I'm definitely going to watch this. There is no doubt I'm watching it because I want to see what he's got to say. Now, he's a Michigan man, so I don't think he's going to throw Michigan under the bus. He's a Michigan man, and he wants to still be accepted by Michigan alum and the Michigan family. He's also a military man too. Military man. I don't know if they talk a lot about what's going on and stuff they've done and missions and tasks. So I just wonder how much is he actually going to divulge in here? But maybe kind of stallions, maybe they paid him enough money. And, I always say you can turn shame into fame into fortune. He's at the fame part right now. Right? He's been shamed. That was a cheating scandal. But now Connor Savage is pretty famous. Now people are like, nah, he's kind of a viral villain. And he hasn't made a lot of appearances. I don't know if he's even spoken out since at all.
I think we need to find a new term for documentaries that are one side of a story. I think we need to find a new term for it because they're not documentaries anymore. Because I keep seeing these things and they're like, we talked to this. And you go, well, did you talk to the other people who had it? And they go, no. You go, well, that's not, then there's no fact in this. It's just one person's telling of it, which is fine. That's not a documentary. That's one person's story. They're two different things. The documentary would be, hey, well, we went in and we were trying to find this, but what we actually found was this because we went and researched it. But like the swamp thing they did for Florida, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Where they went in and they went, well, we told Florida's side of it. Well, that seems a little one-sided because, I mean, everyone else seems to tell you that this was what happened. And then they go, no, but they weren't there. This is what actually happened. You go, well, why don't we balance the two sides of it? And then maybe we'll find something in the middle. So we just need a new term because Netflix has made the documentary now just one-sided. They're one of the worst at it, who just put out a lot of stuff that's like, we asked one group of people what they thought, and now that's the definitive answer.
I don't disagree with you. I think, and now I'm getting too deep. It's kind of how a discussion we started the show with about driving in our society and my theory on why driving has declined so rapidly in this country. At least a skill. Driving as a skill. I think because of the overall deterioration of journalism, period, in our country, like what is considered real journalism. Trust me, I'm not a real journalist.
No,
so trust
me. The lack of money in journalism and what has changed it makes journalism a falling away art now.
It's a lack of money, resources. There's a lack of integrity overall among the journalists themselves. Right? We live in an instant gratification society, so being first matters way more than being accurate. So I think that's just not reflected in documentary filmmaking.
Yeah, it is.
Is that
I agree.
Journalistic integrity means trying to get the entire story, as you know what I mean? And now it's like, no, I'm just gonna get a good story. And even if it's a one-sided, it's a good story. It's like, well, you're only speaking to the people who agree with that side of the story. Though. What about the
if you look up Tim Donaghy, the whole story about Tim Donaghy was the crooked ref in the NBA.
Yeah.
You can find stories that are people that bury Tim Donaghy and there's everything horrible and he's the worst person and the only one who ever cheated in basketball. And then you can take Tim Donaghy. He put out, I think on Netflix, a documentary that was just his side, which is wildly untrue. Like, you can look at all the other accounts and see facts that are stated like by police and video evidence that he's like, no. And then they held me at gunpoint. Like, no, they didn't. No, they didn't, Tim. No one held you at gunpoint. So there's that one. And then there's stuff that's been done that's more down the middle where you can go, okay, this is more seems, we have to still take everything with a grain of salt, but it's a little bit more accurate. So I just think I'm not saying take away because I love to hear Connor Stallion's side of it. I'm not saying I don't want to hear that side. I just don't want it to be called documentary when it's going to come out and it's going to be like, this is what Connor told us, so it's the truth.
Yeah. No, I had to say exactly what you're saying because I actually enjoy documentary film. I'm a big fan of documentary films and mini series and things of that nature. But you're right. Now, I'll agree with you on that in that regard that over the years, it seems like now there's a salacious method to documentary filmmakers. Like, no. Let's just get the most salacious, coolest story.
And this is the problem. And you get this in doing sports, where when you have an idea or a take, you will go find the stats to prove you right. And they don't always do it. And then you can find stats that will prove you right, but it's BS at that point. And you're just finding things where you go, no, I can present this in a way where even though the take I know is completely blown out of the water, but I can present it in this way and show this example and then make my take look all right. But you don't do that necessarily because you're saying, well, but I know, but I don't want to say the take's wrong because I know it's wrong. But there's a lot of people who still just do that. And then you have to look at it and go, he mentioned the bottom 3 quarterbacks in the league to make his point instead of all these other people. So it's that same concept where if you walk into a documentary and you say, I'm going to prove this point, and at the end of it, you have proved that point, you probably didn't make a real documentary because it should take you down a path.
That it's almost like kind of how, man, like whatever your starting with your hypothesis.
Exactly.
And almost using like a scientific method to get there.
Yeah.
I like the investigative method. Even when I do research for topics for the show, I don't like to come up with the opinion and the take first. I like to do the research, and then the research will lead me to the take.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes I can come up with a hypothesis and do the research and realize, like, oh, my hypothesis is wrong.
Done it plenty of times.
It's wrong. It's like I'm not even. But then you'll actually stumble upon another trend.
Yeah, exactly.
But this actually is really interesting. I thought this, but now I know this. Yeah, so I'm with you. You don't get enough of that because people don't like to change their damn minds in this society either. They don't like to admit, I was wrong about something. Oh, I was wrong about that. I thought this, and then turns out I looked at evidence, and new evidence was able to sway me and change my opinion. That's just
I have evolved and grown as a person.
Yeah. It's like no, for some reason, new evidence and new facts, they don't change people's opinion about stuff. I'm like, that is so weird. Even if it's an actual fact, we're just living in a crazy society like that. So there you go. No, I agree with you on that. So not necessarily a document. There will be a show on Netflix. There will be a show featuring Color Stallions called Sign Stealer. And you know what? I can't wait to watch it. It's going to be fun. All right, we come back. Well, I just saw this. I took a picture of it too because I saw it on ESPN. You would not believe what Adam Schefter just said about Dak Prescott. We'll have that when we come back right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis and lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers coming back on the horn. Welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a top of the charts Tuesday, and my co-host, the Idealionaire, Patrick Davis, comes up with all the musically themed days of the week, but that's when he plays jams that reach the top of the Billboard charts on this day in history. And always does a great job with that. Also, he's responsible for a lot around here, but also the topic for the big fat poll of the day, which is now posted on the X account. So go check it out at the Horn ATX. And Patrick, let the folks know what the topic is for the big fat poll of the day.
Big fat poll today. Which Longhorn who didn't make the first team all SEC in the preseason media poll has the best chance to make that list?
Ooh. Yeah, right now Quinn's still running away with this damn thing. 55% of y'all say it's going to be Quinn who ends up being first team, getting first team recognition after he's his second team quarterback currently on the preseason all SEC team. You only got two first teamers, as Patrick mentioned, that's Kelvin Banks and Bert Auburn. I think CJ Baxter probably has a better chance, and he's second right now in the voting. 24% of y'all believe CJ Baxter has the best chance to go from being outside of that first team to making the first team by the end of the season.
Yeah.
Then Trey Moore is 16%, and Jahdae Barron. So Quinn could do it. Quinn's only got one guy to usurp. Yeah, and that's Carson Beck. He's got to outplay Carson Beck, which he could do.
Yeah, and CJ Baxter, I mean, because technically, again, you gave the Heisman odds, though. There's 7 quarterbacks in the Heisman odds right now from the SEC. So technically, there's a lot of players who could jump up there and get in that
Jackson
conversation.
Dart could do it too. Jackson Dart could be one of those.
So there, and I mean, if Milroe has a really good season, we know he's under Kalen DeBoer now.
That's true.
And
You're right about that.
So there's pieces where that could be more difficult. Whereas the running back, and the track record Texas has had with running backs with Tashard Choice and Sark, and that track record, you'd say, well, CJ Baxter's going to have a good season.
I agree. I think CJ Baxter is the one that makes the most sense, but that's a great point bringing up. I'm disrespecting Jalen Milroe and Jackson Dart and those guys, but yeah, the Heisman odds, I mean, they're right there. And if Kalen DeBoer's history with quarterbacks is any indicator, Jalen Milroe is going to take a leap this year in that offense. And I've heard Jackson Dart looks great. And he should. I mean, there's some people that believe that Jackson Dart is going to end up being the best quarterback in the SEC when it's all said and done. He's got that kind of upside. But this is two of the sleepers, I think, are probably Silas Bowden and Matthew Golden, but not at wide receiver. Probably at returner.
Yeah.
Punt return and kickoff return. Last year, just for looking at Silas Bowden, he only had 3 punt returns, but he averaged, if you look at it, he averaged over 32 yards per punt return, and had 1 touchdown. And he did it because one of his teammates got hurt and they threw him in there. He's definitely going to be Texas's punt returner with Xavier Worthy leaving and departing, who might have been the best punt returner in the country. That guy, I think, could be a very capable replacement. And I think good enough to end up being the best punt returner in the SEC. And then there's Matthew Golden. Yes, Keelan Robinson was the best kickoff returner in that draft class last year. Part of the reason he got drafted into the NFL, especially with the new kickoff return rules in the NFL. But Matthew Golden last year, guys, had 9 kickoff returns, averaged over 35 yards per, and 2 touchdowns. He has a chance to be an upgrade over Keelan Robinson and be the best kickoff returner in the SEC. So those are 2 of the guys that also may be no-brainers to make that leap to be all first team all SEC caliber players. So there you go. Check out the topic for the big fat poll today. Quinn Ewers. I hope he is. Quinn Ewers is if Quinn Ewers is first team all SEC, he's definitely going to be in New York City. And that would mean Texas
in the playoffs.
Definitely in the playoffs too, no question. And that I would assume that means that he probably beat Georgia.
Yeah.
Well, I seen it. Yeah, it is because that head-to-head matchup with Carson Beck. I think Carson Beck's gonna have a really good year too. I think that could determine like who ends up being the best quarterback in the SEC potentially, or at least who ends up making the first team all SEC as the starting quarterback. So anyway, that's good. It's a good thing if Quinn is the first team all SEC quarterback, but as Patrick mentioned, that could be some heated competition there. All right, before we get to this Adam Schefter story, I took a picture of it because I was like, did Adam Schefter really say that? They said Adam Schefter said it. They quoted him on ESPN. So I took a picture of the quote so we can talk about it. You wouldn't believe what Adam Schefter said about Dak Prescott. We'll discuss that coming up here. Also, I'll get to we'll dive deeper into game winning drives. There's a great study that was recently done about quarterbacks and game-winning drives, diving deeper into that stat. Usually we use that stat to determine, clutch gene, fourth quarter comebacks. We use that stat as a metric to look at how clutch someone is. Well, they wanted to look at how clutch quarterbacks are based on game-winning drives. But they took it even deeper than just game-winning drives. So kind of a new stat that I want to explore with you guys, and we'll do that in Rod's Rant of the Day, and also talk about why I am going to love watching Team USA men's basketball in the Olympics. It's must-watch television, guys, and we'll explain why that is the case. But first, let's get updated, educated, and informed on all the top stories of the day with Patrick Davis and the Horn Headlines.
All right, your Horn Headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. Team USA outlasted Germany yesterday in their final exhibition game before the Paris Olympics, 92-88. The win pushed USA's record in their exhibition games to 5-0. LeBron James once again took over in the final minutes to secure the win for USA as he finished with a team-leading 20 points. Joel Embiid had his best performance so far, finishing with 15 points and 8 rebounds. Team USA now waits for the first game of Olympic play against Serbia on Sunday morning. In the MLB, the Astros dropped the opening game of their series to the A's 4-0. While the Astros were able to get 8 hits in the game, they couldn't get things done with runners in scoring position and get shut out for only the 4th time this season. Spencer Arguetti made it through 6 innings, but allowed all 4 runs in his first 4 and picks up his 8th loss. Jake Bloss will get his 3rd career start tonight as Houston looks to even the series. And the Rangers picked up an extra innings win yesterday with Wyatt Langford walk-off single in the 10th inning with the bases loaded. Michael Lorenzen pitched 5 innings, allowing 2 runs and striking out 8, but left the game while it was still tied 2-2. Kirby Yates allowed a 9th inning solo homer to Paul DeJong, but Jonah Heim was able to get a run home with 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th to extend the game. John Gray gets a call to start tomorrow in Game 2 of their series with the White Sox. And that's your Horn Headlines.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the Horn Headlines. Okay, so let's get to this quote from Adam Schefter. I got it off of ESPN. I'm going to try to find the actual audio of it. The quote is, Dak is going to reset the quarterback market, which we've talked about. Here's the part that got me. Dak Prescott is going to get a deal north of $60 million a year. It might be more, way more, end quote. Way more. What's way more than $60 million? So north of $60 million, I was like, okay, 60, 62 million. And then he goes on to say way more than 60. Okay, when we're talking about the millions, then I got to keep that in mind too. The context here, we're talking about the millions. So it's 65 million way more than 60 million? He said it might be more, way more. That's wild if it ends up. And I wonder that if he's taking into account that maybe Jordan Love could push this thing even more with his deal. I have no idea. But like I said, that's the quote that I got from ESPN. I took this picture of it because I was surprised by it. I was like, what? Am I reading that right? That it might be more, way more. Way more. Wow. That would be crazy. I don't know if Dak's got that much leverage. 60 million seems, I mean, it's 5 million more than but the top of the market is now for the quarterbacks. I thought that's what the leap they were making was the $5 million leap. If he's getting north of 60 million, he says Dak is going to get north of 60 million. He said it might be more, way more, but he says Dak Prescott is going to get a deal north of 60 million a year.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, I would have put it right around 60 a year. I would have said that's probably about where it would be.
Call me by surprise too. So I don't know. I mean, he's going to get paid. He's got all the leverage. I guess he figures pain and suffering. Y'all shouldn't let me wait too long.
But this may also be why it's taken so long, is that this is information he's getting from Dak's people, and they're saying we're going to get a deal done and it'll be well over 60 million. And the Cowboys are saying, no, you're not. I don't know where you're getting that information from. But no, you're not.
Why do we do that? Whoa. Okay, just want to throw it out there. Because we've been talking about the Dak Prescott negotiations and Jordan Love's contract negotiations. They say they're close with Jordan Love, which makes me. I can't wait to see Jordan Love's number now. I
Yeah,
can't wait to
because
see
Jordan's around 60. Cowboys.
if he's more than 55, then we are in a new world of the quarterback market. If Jordan Love, basically, if Jordan Love resets the quarterback market like that, with the little sample size we have of him and what the very little that he has achieved, I'm not taking away. I like Jordan Love, but the little that he has achieved, if he's able to, but Trevor Lawrence just did it.
Yeah, but Trevor
Lawrence just did it to a certain extent.
The big difference is Trevor Lawrence has seasons under his belt. And I get that he hasn't done anything either, but you're betting all this on Jordan Love not being a 8-game phenom, 9-game phenom.
Yeah.
And I mean,
I'm with you.
I put what, $300 million down on somebody for 9 games, 10 games. Is that where we're at with Jordan Love? Played really good football, 10 games.
Somewhere around there, yeah, including the playoffs, but yeah,
that's what game. It's the next one more game.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. But the Packers, they trust their process and their method. I think that's part of it too. That they want to be right about this. I think that's also so. If the Packers are having flawed logic about this because of a small sample size, is because they've gotten to know him, so they know him personally because they've seen him practice and get better and improve. But also, they really want to be right. They want to make sure, like, hey, now we're right about this. So I could see him resetting the quarterback market. If he gets 55, then yeah, Dak's only more than 60. If Jordan Love gets 55, Dak's getting more than 60. I know Dak's getting 60 because Trevor Lawrence got 55. But if Jordan Love's able to reset the quarterback market, then there's no telling what the hell Dak can get. Yeah. Or CJ Stroud in a year or so. That's then you do need to discuss separating the quarterback position from the salary cap or some other option. I mean, they would have to do something. If he got, I mean, you're talking about 70, you're talking about getting close to $75 million potentially.
You're basically saying if you have a starting quarterback, not a franchise quarterback, just a starting quarterback that you re-sign, it's a 30-year salary cap.
Basically, yeah.
So a third of your salary to have any real chance to compete for a title has to go to
salary cap goes up every year. It goes up every year.
Yeah.
So it goes down does the quarterback market.
That's what I'm saying.
So is the QB market. Yeah, I got to go look at because I want to say that the Chiefs just won the Super Bowl with Patrick Mahomes taking up the largest percentage of the salary cap that any quarterback is taking up. So I got to go look at it. But no, you're right. That's just the new quarterback market. So I wanted to share that because I was a little surprised that Adam Schefter said Dak's getting north of 60 million. And like I said, if that is the case, then I think what must have happened before that, what must have preceded that had to be maybe Jordan Love pushing the QB market too, for him to get north of 60. Why would the Cowboys? I don't understand why they would have to pay that unless Dak's playing real hardball and Dak wants to reach free agency. Dak's like, I don't even want to play for the Cowboys anymore. I'm going to have some absurd number that I know y'all not going to want to pay. And then y'all would, either want to trade me or decide they're going to move on from me. And I don't think I don't know if Dak's doing that either. I think Dak wants to be in Dallas too. So who knows behind the scenes? Okay, we'll get to some more NFL discussion in Rod's rant of the day. Really quickly, I want to talk about Team USA. Another close one for Team USA in their latest exhibition versus Germany. Patrick brought it up in the Horn headlines. They won 92-88. LeBron once again came to the rescue. He put his cape on. He did the same thing in their 1-point win over South Sudan when he had 23-6-6, but the game winner took over the game in the fourth quarter at the end of the game. Did the same thing in this game. He had 26-4, but he had 11 straight points in the fourth quarter, making plays on both ends of the floor. And I said this yesterday, and now I truly believe it. Now it's one of my takes. It's one of the hills I'm willing to die on, that LeBron James understands just the way he's playing and how hard he's playing, the desperation, all right, that he's playing with late in these games. He knows that these Olympics are going to affect his legacy if they don't win gold. And basically, if they don't win gold or they have some slip up here on their path to trying to win gold, that even if it's not LeBron's fault, that in 10, he's been around long enough to know that in a decade, 15 years, we're still having the LeBron MJ debate, which we'll have forever. All right, because it's like Ouroboros, a snake eating its own tail. It'll never end. Right? It basically, he knows that he is going to get the blowback. That it's going to negatively affect his legacy, but nobody else really have to deal with it. KD, no Devin Booker won't have to deal with it. No Jason Tatum, none of those guys. But they will, the LeBron haters, they will ultimately heap this loss or heap the underachieving dream team or any of their shortcomings. They'll blame LeBron for it. So if you watch LeBron at the end of these games, and these games, I mean, they're getting close to being upset by South Sudan and by Germany. LeBron is taking over the games. And it's honestly, we haven't even seen LeBron do this in the NBA in a while, just because, you know, it's just tougher in the NBA, of course. But man, he is playing like his legacy is on the line. Because I think in some small way, he knows it is. And he knows that in the LeBron MJ debate, where he's just trying to get every possible, you know, advantage that he can in that LeBron MJ debate, he'll never probably surpass MJ in people's minds because MJ is, you know, the GOAT of GOATs who can do no wrong. But he knows that if they slip up, and he's already had a dream team he was on that didn't win gold. He had one of those, right? He had a dream team that didn't win gold. If he has another one, it'll have a negative effect on his legacy. And I think that's why you see him at the end of the games, Patrick. He is giving it everything he's got. And it's still, him at almost 40 years old, it's still enough for him to become a force of nature and just take over the games and be the best player on the floor on his own team with all those young bucks and against the opposing team, wherever it is. That's why it's must-watch television, guys. You won't see, I don't know if we've seen LeBron like this even in the NBA playoffs at times, because he can't really take over the game like that with the competition level. And at the Olympic level, they're a collection of talent, but not a great team. So they're going to end up in these nail biters. And it's the perfect situation for LeBron just to take over for the last 4-5 minutes. And it is thrilling to watch. I'm not gonna lie, it's thrilling because there's a chance he's gonna lose and not get it done.
Yeah, no, and I mean, and it's also, you know, a lot of people put the sight on him that he's, you know, that he flops all the time, that he's not tough enough. And the reality is, yes, he flops because that gets you calls, and as much people hate it, there's a reason people do it. It's because it works. Because referees won't call it if you don't. Especially if you're known flopper, they will not call it if you don't flop because they go, well, he always flops, so clearly he's not getting fouled. So once you get that reputation, you kind of have to keep doing it. But at the same point, the fact that he is so strong and has that body control that he could just keep going downhill and that it is more physical, the refs are letting him bump around a lot more, especially by the rim. And it's causing some of these guys a lot of problems because they're so used to getting those calls. They're so used to being able to get inside and people not contesting him like that. He's just been able to go downhill and score when they need it, when they really need a bucket. Just take the ball and get downhill. But then he had a big three in that game as well. Yep. You know, the team defense, I wouldn't even say team, but the individual defensive efforts are picking up in the second half in some of these games as well. When it's too close and they're down, the teams are starting to pick up a little bit more defensively and, you know, not letting guys get around them. But, you know, you watch that Germany game, they just play pick and roll. And Team USA didn't communicate enough, and there would be wide open guys. And then someone would switch over, and then in the corner, Franz Wagner's wide open, and he hits a three. And then, okay, now you just go back down. They were just getting wide open shots on pick and roll over and over and over again because you want to have a defensive scheme to stop that, not just play man defense and send a team out there and go, all right, we're playing man, let's go. And that's really what this Team USA team, you know, I get you've been together now for 2 weeks. You didn't really have time to install an offensive and defensive scheme. These players probably don't all want to sit and try and learn and work really hard on a offensive and defensive scheme that's going to erase what they know already and trying to do it different than what they do in the game. But they probably should have. It's way too late now to do it. You probably should have started and said, we guys, just something simple, but we need to know, you know, there's not three in the key You can't get 3-second defensive 3 seconds. You can play zone basically in international play. So when you say you have these big guys, you want to be able to use that a little bit better, but they don't because they're playing man and they just keep switching them on to 3-point shooters. And then you can't leave them in the paint anymore because that guy's just going to kick the ball out and get a three. Yeah. So teams have all game planned, and we can talk about how Texas is going to the SEC. Everybody wants to get their best shot on Texas, but man, everyone wants to get a shot on Team USA. These are players trying to make it to the NBA because that's where the money is.
Yeah.
And so every team understands if I can go make an impact, maybe I can get in the, get another look at the NBA, and maybe I can get a job over there and make way more money than I'm making wherever else I'm playing. So a lot of these teams, and they want to win for their countries for sure, but these coaches have game plans that they have worked on for a long time to beat USA. And so far they've been working, and Team USA has just been able to push away and use their talent at the end of games to get secure wins. But you're right. If you keep putting yourself in those situations, it's going to get tougher and tougher. The good news for Team USA is one of their biggest factors is they have just had massive scoring droughts. And KD coming back should help that out. That KD, you're talking about one of the best scorers in NBA history. And as CB will point out, the best scorer in Team USA history.
Oh, is he really? Yeah, I saw that. Okay.
So
Thank you, CB. Appreciate that.
If you have that guy coming back, that just helps you out to have another guy to try and get the ball to when you miss your second, you miss 2 or 3 shots in a row. Just if you get KD the ball, LeBron's done pretty well with it. Steph Curry's done okay in some games, but he's taken, it's Steph Curry threes. So they're not ever going to be a 50% shot where KD can get downhill and get a mid-range shot and hit that with more regularity than some of these other guys are hitting it.
Yeah. No, you're right. Because he's a matchup nightmare no matter who's going up against KD. So that shit. I wonder is Steph having a hard time dealing with the physicality on the international game?
Not totally. I think he's having it more of he's not. I think it's more that he's used to running in a system where guys know where to set screens for him. And so he's used to moving without the ball better. But when you move without the ball, you need other guys to move too, or else you just run into other guys and it doesn't work. So, like, if he cuts across the baseline, which Steph Curry is notorious for doing these baseline cuts, and then Draymond or somebody will set a screen on the baseline, and he pops out the other side, and the defense is trying to figure it out. Well, the problem is he goes to do that. No one sets him a screen, and then he runs over, and Jason Tatum's standing right there.
Yeah, so now you're just clogging things up.
Yeah, so now you're not open because now you're just 2 of you, and one guy can defend 2 guys. So because there isn't that offense that anybody really knows and is comfortable with, it takes away that piece of his game. Now, they've still run a few things, and they run sets that have gotten him open. But again, he's not getting in that rhythm because he's just not getting – and no one is getting the amount of shots that they normally get in a game either.
Yeah, of course.
Normally these guys all touch the ball probably 5 to 6 times more than they're touching it per time in this game.
No, that's a good point. So if you're not watching Team USA, the men's basketball, you probably should. If you're thinking, oh, man, they're blowing them out by 30, 40 points, that is not happening, and that won't happen in Olympic competition either. And one of the things also, they don't have the intimidation factor that Dream Team used to have where, hey, these guys who they're playing up against internationally, that they're in awe of them, and, they're just happy to be competitive in any game. They're coming at Team USA. They're coming at them. They got belief that they can beat them. And that is something new. I'm thinking the last like 2 Olympics that has been the case where you have more and more teams that actually have belief that, hey man, we can beat Team USA. This team they're a collection of talent. They look as beatable as any Dream Team that we've seen.
Yeah, except for the one that got beat. But
except for one that got beat. But that team looked beatable though.
Yeah.
Early. They look beatable. I said this team look beatable. I'm not saying they're gonna get beat.
Yeah.
They look beatable. And
the world game is definitely caught way up to USA, and the fact that Team USA does not have a solid team that practices and goes year to year is becoming more and more and more of an issue every Olympics.
Yeah, because the South Sudan guys, that's what they said. They said we've been getting together for the last like 4 years.
Yeah, so is Germany. So is Serbia. So is all these other teams. They play FIBA ball. Now, Jokic may come in last minute, but the rest of the team, does FIBA every year, and they play every single offseason. They're playing together, and Team USA literally has been together for 2 weeks.
Yeah, no, it's tough. I know you're right about that. All right. Yeah, the last team was at 2004. LeBron was on that team, wasn't he? Was it LeBron? No, he wasn't on that team. Was he?
He
Yeah,
would have
was.
been, yeah, he would have been
He was
really
a baby, like he was like a
Yeah.
rookie or a second year guy, but he was on that team. Man, how'd that team lose? Because they were a collection of talent and not a team.
Yep.
AI, Dwayne, and a lot of young stars too. You got Dwayne Wade, LeBron, Carmelo, Tim Duncan was on that squad. Allen Iverson, Stephon Marbury, Dwayne Wade, Carlos Boozer, Carmelo Anthony, LeBron James, Emeka Okafor, Sean Marion, Amari Stoudemire, Tim Duncan, Lamar Odom, Richard Jefferson. Man, wow. It's crazy. It could happen to you, Dream Team. So, hey, you're right. So LeBron, that's also helps them too. That he's been on a team that didn't win the gold. And trust me, so he knows about that. All right, we come back. We'll get into the clutchy a little bit. Game-winning drives. How about we look into that stat and dive even deeper into game-winning drives? You'll be surprised where Dak Prescott is among the most clutch of the clutchest performers in the NFL. All that and more right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Babers coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. I want to get into this article I read about basically trying to look at how clutch Patrick Mahomes is, and did a really in-depth study about quarterbacks and how many of them have been able to orchestrate, execute multiple go-ahead and game-winning drives in the same game. Essentially, he was inspired, and Scott Caxmere did a great job. He was inspired by watching the Super Bowl, which I got a chance to watch the last Super Bowl live. And in that game, what people don't realize, and I realized it because I thought to myself multiple times while watching that game live, my man Shano's about to get his first Super Bowl. Literally, I was making plans to try to hey, I got to get down there. How am I going to try to celebrate with my boy and try to get down there? Because Skis was down there like, man, I'll come get you and I'll get you a pass to get on the field. We were trying to make plans for the celebration.
Yeah, you were trying to Kevin Hart it.
I was trying to sneak out there and get a part of the celebration. I figured if I had,
was his that he tried to get on the podium and then got the hand in the chest?
Yes, I remember that was a Philadelphia one, right?
Yeah,
what was that?
Yeah, it was a Philadelphia one. Yeah, I think
it was a Philadelphia. Yeah, I remember that. I forget. He kind of. I forgot. Yeah, is he from Philly?
He's from Philly, but he's a Giants fan.
Kevin Hart's just silly, man. He's ridiculous. Yeah. So I was gonna just try to. I doubt it would have worked, but who knows? I might have figured it out. But I remember thinking to myself several times, oh man, the 49ers got this. I picked the Kansas City Chiefs in Patrick Mahomes because I don't pick against Patrick Mahomes. That's just stupid, especially in the playoffs in the Super Bowl. But I was rooting for my boy Shano. And in that game, the reason this stat backs it up, why I felt like, oh man, I think the 49ers have got this. That's the only playoff game in NFL history where a team had 3 go-ahead drives in the fourth quarter and overtime and still lost the game. Still lost it. It's just, that's how hard it is to beat Patrick Mahomes. I mean, Brock Purdy put his team ahead 3 separate times. Ended up had a double-digit lead early in the game and put his team ahead 3 times in the fourth quarter and overtime. Still lost the game to Patrick Mahomes. Really hard to beat that guy. All right, you gotta to vanquish him. It's really tough to do. So basically, he looked at how often that happens, where someone has multiple go-ahead game-winning drives in the same game. It's got to be really rare. That's what he was thinking, and he was right about that. So he both thought that technically Super Bowl 58 wouldn't count as one of the games since Mahomes only led 1 go-ahead drive in the fourth quarter overtime, and the other were game-tying drives. So they didn't go ahead; they were game-tying drives that was sent into overtime. But he said there are 7 such games. He said Mahomes has led his team on multiple game-winning drives. Including Super Bowl 57 against the Eagles was one of these. So he went and looked at it, and he said 7 times in 7 seasons. And he wondered, is that a lot compared to Patrick Mahomes' peers to have 7 multiple go-ahead game-winning drives in 7 seasons? And by the way, totally, if you go look at game-winning drives, the total amount for Patrick Mahomes got 22 total game-winning drives. 7 of those have when he's had to have multiple go-ahead game-winning drives in the same game. So you're talking about 30. That's a damn near 32% clip. It's pretty damn good. Dak Prescott, one of his peers, right above 30%. 23 total game-winning drives, 7 multiple game-winning drives, or multiple go-ahead or game-winning drives. So it's pretty good for Dak. It's a good number for Dak in terms of comparing him to his peers. Got a little bit of that clutch gene. And Dak actually does have some of the clutch gene. I went and looked at, if you just look at quarterbacks who have the best kind of fourth quarter comeback game-winning drive numbers, period. You go look at their win percentage in those situations. Dak is in the top 5. Now, Patrick Mahomes, he's, in my opinion, the best comeback quarterback and the best clutch quarterback in the NFL. And if you combine fourth quarter comebacks and game-winning drive situations, opportunities, Patrick Mahomes is second. Based on this latest chart, he is second in the NFL in win percentage in those situations. And I think he's the best because they're looking at regular season and postseason. I mean, think about how many times he's led fourth quarter comebacks, game-winning drives in Super Bowls and in the playoffs. I can think of like 2 or 3 of them off the top of my head. Hell, in the Super Bowl. We're talking about like in the actual Super Bowl. He's been down double digits in Super Bowls in all 3 of his Super Bowls, and he's won 2 of them being down double digits. So he's got a 53, almost 54% win percentage on game or in games where he's had a fourth quarter comeback or game-winning drive opportunity. Dak Prescott, 46%. Not bad. That puts him 5th on this list behind. I don't know how Kenny Pickett is ahead, but Kenny Pickett is 1st on this list. So there are exceptions to every rule. I don't know if he's got the clutch gene, but he's got some of that, or at least he does well in those situations. He's at 63%. Patrick Mahomes is at 53%, almost 54%. Jimmy Garoppolo's at 52% in those situations. And then Jalen Hurts at 50%. And then you got Dak. So Dak already is pretty damn clutch. But in these situations, we're looking at multiple go-ahead or game-winning drive opportunities. And like I said, Dak, if you look at percentage-wise, 30% of his total game-winning drives have been multiple go-ahead or game-winning drive opportunities. So Dak's got some of that clutch gene. We talked about Jalen Hurts. He's only had 2 multiple game-winning drive or go-ahead opportunities out of his 8 total game-winning drives. Derek Carr's had 34 total game-winning drives, 8 multiple game-winning or go-ahead, multiple go-ahead or game-winning drives. Russell Wilson's had 43 total game-winning drives, 8 of the multiple go-ahead or game-winning drives. Matthew Stafford's had 47 total game-winning drives, but 8 multiple go-ahead or game-winning drives. So if you look at the pace, so you look at the win percentage and the pace, Patrick Mahomes is on a better pace than his peers to have more multiple go-ahead or game-winning drive opportunities. And I mean, that just goes to how hard it is to vanquish Patrick Mahomes. Even when you got him down double digits, doesn't mean a damn thing. I throw out the stat all the time that if you go look at win percentage in the playoffs, when teams have been, or quarterbacks have been down double digits, Patrick Mahomes is the only quarterback in the history of the NFL to have a winning record in that situation. Not even Tom Brady has a winning record. He's 5-8 in that situation. Patrick Mahomes in that situation, man, he's 5-2. It's crazy. So he's more clutch in terms of the most clutch of the most clutch. All right, the clutchest of the clutch. He is it. Even when your quarterback is on the top of their game and say they deliver their own fourth quarter comeback or game-winning drive to counter what Patrick Mahomes has done, he still may do it again in the same damn game. There's a really good chance. It's about a third of his game-winning drives. He does it multiple times in the same game. Isn't that crazy? That is absurd. And like I said, most of his, or a lot of them, are playoff games. And I love Dak, but Dak's not doing that in playoff games like Patrick Mahomes. So how does that compare to the all-time greats? Let's look at Tom Brady in that situation. He's the GOAT. Tom Brady, 72 total game-winning drives. 72 game-winning drives. That's absurd in itself. 72 game-winning drives. Peyton Manning's got 56 total game-winning drives in his career. So out of 72 game-winning drives, you know how many of them were multiple go-ahead or game-winning drives in the same game? 9. He's the clutchest quarterback in the history of the game. He's only had 9 of those out of 72. But then you get to Patrick Mahomes, and then Patrick Mahomes, he's already on the pace. He'll have 9. Hell, by next season, he'll end up eclipsing 9. That's how clutch he is. He is never out of a game, whether you got him down double digits, as I've proven, or whether you got him down and your quarterback answers with their own drive, engineered a game-winning drive, and just performed at an elite level. If there's enough time left on that clock, you're in trouble. If there's too much time left, you're in trouble. That's what it proves. Ben Roethlisberger actually probably has one of the best rates. He's got 57 total game-winning drives, but 12 multiple go-ahead or game-winning drives within those. So 21%. But guys, like I said, the most that that they've listed here, I'm talking about among kind of the recent all-time greats in modern history, is 12. That's big. That's Big Ben. Aaron Rodgers. Let's look at Aaron Rodgers. Let's see. Aaron Rodgers actually. Let's go look. He'll be with the peers, so I'll bring him back to the peers. Aaron Rodgers, 33 total game-winning drives, 5 multiple go-ahead or game-winning drive opportunities. Guys, you're not supposed to have a lot of these. In Derek Carr's 34, he's got 8. In Russell Wilson's 43 total game-winning drives, he's got 8. Same thing with Matt Stafford, 47 total game-winning drives, he's got 8. Aaron Rodgers, 33 total game-winning drives, he's got 5. 9 out of the 72 total game-winning drives for Tom Brady were multiple go-ahead or game-winning drives. Guys, you're not supposed to have a lot. And he's got 7-7 seasons. That's why it's absurd. Like, you're not even supposed to have many of these in your entire career. He's already got as many as some of the all-time greats. And on a pace to have it faster, or at least faster pace, and have more than his peers already. I'll give you Joe Montana real quick, then we'll go to break. Joe Montana, another all-time great to compare himself to, 33 total game-winning drives, 3 multiple game-winning drives to go ahead score. Dan Marino, 51 total game-winning drives, 5 multiple go-ahead or game-winning drive opportunities. You're not supposed to have a lot of these. We've never seen anybody in the NFL more clutch than Patrick Mahomes, period. And that's scary because he's only getting better. We come back, we'll play Who Said That? That's when Patrick plays pieces of audio from the sports world, sometimes beyond. And then based on the familiarity of the voice or context clues, you got to identify who said that. And we'll come back and hit that right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Babers coming back on the horn. Mm. Mm-mm-mm. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a top of the charts Tuesday. That's when Patrick plays jams that reach the top of the Billboard charts on this day in history. So we appreciate him and all of his hard work. Also, go check out the top for the Big Fat Poll today. That's already posted up there at the Horn ATX. Patrick just wants to know which Longhorn who didn't make the first team All SEC in the preseason media poll has the best chance to make that list by the end of the season. If you can also go down there and list your own, but right now Quinn Ewers is running away with it, 56% of the vote. All right, let's get ready to wrap this thing up. Put it in Evan. Before we do, we'll play Who Said That. That's when Patrick plays a bit of audio from the sports world, sometimes beyond the sports world, and based on the context clues that you gain from listening to the audio or based on the familiarity of the voice, hopefully you can recall or identify who said that.
I used to almost think it was cool to be able to get away with not sleeping. That is the dumbest shit I've ever heard. It's crazy to me though, because when your job is to deal with people, you got to establish healthy habits that are in alignment with sustaining this when there's a lot of external stressors that the season entails.
What are some of those tools, some of those things, some of those resources you were able to tap into after that season going into last year that you feel like really helped?
Yeah, people just want results and people want to live. I almost became, I'm not on social media, but it's almost like I was living in a social media where you're living a curated life and you want to uphold this image. And it's like, bro, that ain't real. That ain't being a human being. And I think there was a lot of peace in acknowledging a lot of the challenges and struggles that I've gone through. And shoot, am I totally perfect? Hell no. I'll continue to do that. But I think I'm better equipped with the people around and the perspective and the purpose to not go down those roads again. But it was dark, man.
Like that. That was Sean McVay getting deep. And I think he's talking about holding up the image of being like this prodigy and this whiz kid, you know what I mean? And, oh man, he's, he's infallible. He doesn't make any mistakes, doesn't make any bad decisions. I think he's kind of battling against that. He's like, no, man, I'm human. It's okay.
I mean,
that's why he talked about the social media image.
I think that when you realize that he almost walked away from it after that Super Bowl.
Yep.
At his age, just being like, I'm so burned out. And I'm guessing he learned in that offseason. It's like, you don't have to walk away. Like, you're killing yourself, not us.
Exactly. Somebody probably tells like, dude, why don't you get some sleep? Why don't you sleep 8 hours? You can do that. Yeah. You don't have to devote everything in your life to this one single thing, which is football, even though you can do that, but you don't have to. You can still have a quality of a life, and I think that's kind of what he's talking about. Yeah, sleep. That's one of the things that used to be considered a badge of honor, to only get 2-3 hours sleep. And I worked all through the night. It's like, that was stupid. You're gonna be sleep deprived, man. Your brain is not functioning at the highest level it needs to be. What are you doing? I'm glad that Sean McVay speaking the truth there. Thank you, Patrick, for everything you do, brother. Great job as always. Thank you guys out there for listening. Remember, the revolution will not be televised. We'll be talking about it right here on the Rodcast. We love you guys. We mean that. Take care of yourselves, but more importantly, take care of each other. Until next time, same channel. Peace and hook 'em.